Gets it out. Too little, too late, though, for the Crows. As the kick goes in long, and Bergman with a terrific marking defence.
He's really becoming a very good footballer.
Seconds tick down. It was a showdown slobber knocker. They were battered. They were bruised. That's the bump that's going to make the news. But most importantly, Port Adelaide lock in a spot in the top four in 2024.
And my boys, well done tonight. Showdown wins a showdown win. Fuck yeah.
Alrighty, hello and welcome to the Creedcast. My name is Dave, and as always, we thank you for being here. And it's a very, very good week to be here on this, a podcast about the Port Adelaide Football Club, aka the best side in South Australia, as confirmed on Saturday night, as your Port Adelaide Football Club defeated the West Lakes Theberton Courtroom FC Crow Camrys by a score of 11-14-80 to 8-10-58. We'll get straight into it here as this game had everything. It was high pressure, it was back and forth, always close, a lot of spice like showdowns generally have. And there was one big hit that has reverberated through space and time that has certainly been the talk of the town since. Unfortunately in some aspects, because it has taken away from the game and has brought out some ugly sides of everything that happens with showdowns. But we'll talk about that, but we'll talk about all the good that came out of the game, which should be talked about as much as anything. Jamie, you said to me on the weekend that you were tipping a few back to celebrate the occasion before, during and after. Tell me, what was it like to be a part of that just incredible atmosphere? I could see it on TV. I could see just how full that stadium was. They showed the hill was just, people were shoulder to shoulder. It was incredible to see on TV, so I need to hear how it was there in the stands.
Oh boy, it was magnificent. And I certainly did tip a few in. As I mentioned to you, it was in my plans. Hello to everyone listening and watching, whatever your activities are. Steve in particular. It was awesome. It was like a tin of sardines on the hill there, wasn't it? I aimed to meet up with a couple of people on the night, but once you found a spot to watch the game from, you really needed to stay there for the whole match because, it was basically you move an inch, someone fills your spot. The atmosphere was great. Huge crowd, a lot of emotion involved from start to finish. It just goes to show how much the game itself means to everyone and the permutations of the match and how it could affect the season kind of for both sides, obviously more particularly for us because we're still in the hunt for another year, which is satisfying. I'd rather that, to be honest, than a 7-year finals drought, if I'm being honest. But also, your little intro there was a little bit petty and I loved it. So because all weekend I was thinking to myself that PAFC beat WLFC. So I'm glad that you fit in West Lakes football club.
I was just thinking when you said petty, I was like thinking of what was it? This is the end where he's like, you're being petty, Tom Petty. But it was, some of the aftermath of the game has been quite petty as well from, you could say it's both sides. Like, we're not going to sit here and say that Port fans are perfect, but it's certainly been quite interesting commentary from the West Lakes Theberton side of town. And
hasn't it just been so stereotypical of a particular fan base? Now, we're preaching to the choir.
Mm-hmm.
But holy shit, it was a meltdown. Peter Dutton doesn't need to worry about nuclear reactors or anything like that. It went nuclear on the night and there were many, many meltdowns still trying to cool off, Tuesday, the 20th of August, a few days afterwards. And look, there's a lot of high emotions slinging around everywhere, but holy shit, some of the crap that you have to troll through on your daily scroll. It's ridiculous and very I don't know what the right word is. Lacking in a bit of self-awareness, I think.
Yeah. There's been, we'll talk about it in a bit. We should celebrate the game first, but yeah, it's very Chernobyl. Like the meltdown happens, but then days later and months later, you're still finding like this melting pile of like
Yeah.
nuclear waste in the bottom of the
I'm going to pick
reactor.
up a piece of graphite.
Yeah.
Just like,
And you're just going to find yourself sick days later, and which is what it feels like at the moment. You just keep getting hit by like random Crows fans coming out of the woodwork and saying, "Well, Rankin's hit on Starcevic just wasn't nearly as bad, even though it was off the ball and completely different and not in play at all." But we'll get to that.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Did we
sure.
want to start? Did you want to actually start there? Did
No,
you
no, I
get
think
that
we should. I think we should like do like a little bit of a sandwich and just like credit
shit
our
sandwich? Yep.
credit our team first, because first and foremost, we won the fucking showdown and we won it
Yeah,
playing.
absolutely.
You and I talked about it in the lead up that a lot of our worries and our concerns that come from the previous showdown encounters with the Adelaide Crows is that they do just play a style of football that can expose some of the. We've tightened up a lot of those weaknesses that we've talked about at times, the pressure and the tackling and the ground balls and our ability to defend in transition. A lot of that has tightened up over the last a good run of form over the last couple of months, but we've still seen in showdowns, regardless of form, that the Crows can expose things. I was really proud of the effort, the pressure rating. Every time Fox Footy put the pressure rating up, the Crows was actually quite good, and that is the one thing I think going into this game. The Crows were the number one team in the competition as far as pressure goes. They're just a really good pressure side. It's kind of how they do stay in games and aren't, even being a 15th place team, they have, they've beaten Carlton and Essendon over in Melbourne, which, you can argue what the merits of that game is now, but at the time that they beat them, they was, in top 8 teams in Melbourne. So they have found ways to win games by just playing a good, just exerting pressure, because that can be the great equalizer. We
Absolutely.
beat them.
We've been talking about it ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
About needing a bit more of that in during our lowest points of the season.
Mm-hmm. And we did that to them, and they couldn't handle it very well. And the game allowed itself to be a bit that the conditions. Actually, I should ask you what was. I know there was rain around on the weekend, and they mentioned it in the telecast that a bit of rain came down during the game. But what was it like there for you? What was your read on what the conditions were like? Because I assume they were a bit greasy, and you could tell there was a few.
Yeah.
It was a bit greasy and harder to handle footy, but you can probably speak to that a little bit better than I can, having watched from hot Los Angeles as it was for me. I haven't seen rain in months now, so
yeah. Well, we checked the forecast when we did our preview for the match, and it was forecast to rain. However, the way that I read the forecast was that it was supposed to rain in the morning and probably cut off by the afternoon. And in actual fact, it kind of just lingered for most of the day. It wasn't too heavy, but it was just constant spray. So yeah, it was destined to be a bit of a slippery affair. And to be honest, probably worked in our favor a little bit. So yeah, I don't think I think there might have been a tiniest little bit of a drizzle early in the match, but it did clear up, and it was just all the surface water on the ground, and it made for a decent arm wrestle, to be honest. The first half in particular probably left both sides wanting a bit more. Apart from pressure, both sides probably think that they'd left some goals out there without taking some opportunities. But yeah, in terms of the weather and how it affected how the game played, I think our I think our two forwards were always going to be in a contested battle.
Mm-hmm.
The difference being is that we have two big forwards now all of a sudden, and not just Charlie languishing on his own. And where they thought they could expose us in their forward line, their tall forwards were basically rendered somewhat useless. And I thought our defense held up fantastically well in regards to their forward makeup. I don't think Darcy Fogarty kicked 2 goals. I don't think he really earned either of them. So
He
it's a
kicked
huge
two.
tick for our defense.
So he kicked two, did he? I
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. The first one was due
Oh, yeah.
to Kane Farrell dropping a mark in defensive 50, and then a couple of chains of handball got one out the back and snapped truly.
Hmm.
Um, and then the second one, I can't actually remember, but I do actually remember on the night and in reflection, watching the replay, just going, yeah, you're a bit fortunate to end up with multiple goals. And
Hmm.
that's another interesting point because I think he had a career best day out against the Bulldogs the week before. And Riley Thilthorpe, a lot got spoken about how much size that he has put on and how tall he is. And our key defenders are only around the 195 centimeter mark. But it just goes to show that if your system is right, your pressure up the field is right. A bit of greasy weather, like I've spoken about Alia's wingspan before and how I'd really love to know what it actually is.
Hmm.
Some of these factors just mean that yeah, you can have a really tall forward, but it's not a fait accompli that you're just going to beat a shorter defender because you are taller than them. There's a lot more that goes into it. I mean, we saw that against the Bulldogs when we played them. They got three pretty tall forwards, two in particular,
Hmm.
and basically rendered them useless with strategy and structure and system, the three S's, I guess you
Yeah.
could say. All
Yeah.
really saying the same thing, though.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up because I was really impressed with that. Actually, in my notes, I had that you had Dart Fogarty and Philthorpe combined for 2 goals, but then as I looked down to my actual stats, I screenshotted you. I corrected Darcy Fogarty. I just can't even picture the second goal, but yeah, he got out the back for a snap,
I think it
and
might have been it might have been a free kick or something like that,
yeah,
or a
I
gimme, lock
can't
and
believe I
mark or
just don't
something.
remember it,
Yeah,
but yeah, he's so dangerous. Like if he gets like they took so many marks inside 50. They really dominated a good Bulldogs team the week before with just getting just some decent quality opportunities, and we just restricted that so well. And the conditions probably helped that a little bit. Like that just slowed the game down just that enough because players weren't super sure of their footing at times. I think there was a moment in our 50 where like Rioli tried to kind of step around the pack, and he just slipped
it
over and got
slipped.
caught holding the
Yeah,
ball, and so footing was a little bit off. It just puts that little bit of subconscious doubt in mind that you have to be a little bit more clean, like careful with the ball, and that helped kind of restrict their run. I think just we just and our pressure again was the key factor in it. That's just that's 101 of footy. You're gonna have a decent day. It doesn't mean you're gonna win for sure, but you're gonna have a decent day out with the pressure. And our tackles are good, and we brought the ball to stoppage a lot. I think we won, and the clearances we won. I think 52-38 or
we
something like that
smashed
over.
them.
But it was pretty even in the center clearances, though we got probably more quality ones, I think. But around the stoppage, it was 47 to 28. I think 47 to 32.
42 to 27.
42 to 27. Thank you for clearing up the number. You could see what I was going in my mind. I'm scrolling for it
somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, we've become a really good team at making stoppages happen, and then to be able to actually kind of capitalize on them with good clearance out of stoppage and getting the ball going forward, or winning the ball from stoppage inside our forward 50. We had 18 tackles to 6 or 8 or something like that and our forward 50 as well. So we made sure to hold the ball and put pressure on inside our forward 50 as well. So just all these things we hadn't seen. And contested possessions, we only lost by -3, which is a vast improvement over previous showdowns.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as our pressure goes, we actually won the pressure acts. We won by +13. So as far as the actual pressure rating goes, we did win overall that. And then obviously some players had some really good numbers there as well. But yeah, it was just a really good performance on that side of it with the the stoppage. It's just the game plan. Really just was so much different to what we've seen in previous showdowns. And that was just something I was really proud of right from the off. There was a little lull at the start of the third quarter, and it changed when we get to that hit. But I think that was probably the only period. It was probably 5 or 6 minutes at the start of the third quarter where the Crows kind of put a bit of pressure on and squandered a couple of opportunities. But beyond that, I thought we actually held them. And even then, they didn't score majors anyway, and we just restricted them to half chances, and Rankin was the only other multiple goal scorer, and one of his came from a free kick as well. And
After the Lockie Jones
the other,
tunneling
yeah, that's right. I was trying to think,
incident.
yeah, which as dangerous as the other incident that happened in the game that's getting all the talk, but uh, we're asking for consistency from AFL pundits and fans is like, yeah, you're not going to get it. So yeah, we had to start on that because what that's getting lost in all of the hoopla
Well,
after the
yeah,
game,
yeah,
unfortunately.
fucking absolutely. Yeah,
It's just
it adds
how
another layer of
we earned.
frustration.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does. Yeah, we earned that win through hard footy, and so probably the irony of all the talk afterwards is like so many people want just to see some hard footy, and sometimes complain about modern footy, and it's not like you want hard footy in the sense of people getting injured, and we'll talk about that situation in a moment, but we played good, hard, fair footy most of the game through, and even the incident itself was something that 15, 20 years ago is ticked off and is fine. It's just unfortunate that, and it is, we do need to be, unfortunately, well, I have no qualms with a suspension incoming as much as I just have qualms with the hyperbole and stupid commentary that comes with it. But yeah, beyond that incident, it was just a good. We played hard footy. We backed each other up. You've kind of talked about a little bit like playing for each, rather than playing isolated and individualistic. That we were back in our lull. I think you brought it up a lot.
For me, it's the epitome of why we're in the position we're in now. Is
Mhm.
that obviously there was a circuit breaker and everyone is just playing for each other now, and it's elevating everyone's game as a result.
Mm.
Like, yeah, I totally agree with the comments that you made earlier about the fact that we played a good hard game of football. We were the better team on the night. A lot of the strategy, a lot of the structure that we put in place it's all just being neglected in reflection. And I mean, even in review shows and segments, sure, you can talk about a big incident, but I mean, we're 4 games into a stretch of 5 where we weren't expected by a lot of people to win any of them at one stage. And we've manufactured another fantastic positioning on the ladder. Where we finish within the top 4 is still yet to be seen. But we're playing for each other. The midfield is, like you mentioned, we're talking about how we dominated clearance, we're dominating tackles, and some of those numbers are higher than our season averages in recent times. And it's another thing. It's just like, well, is this an example of where we've learnt a lot about that 13-game stretch last year, where our game plan was built on manic pressure, tackling pressure, and a franked midfield game where we're just causing the opposition to fret into submission. We all know we went too early last year, and it's something that we spoke about in the fallout of the Brisbane loss and then some of the weeks after that is that, well, when we started to build our form back up, are we tapping back into that game plan now because it is the right time of the year, as opposed to the first half of the year last year? Who knows? If we go all the way and, behind the scenes kind of stuff gets spoken about, maybe we'll find out. But like the midfield group, and again, it's an easy thing to say when you're previewing the game like we did, that it was going to be won or lost in the midfield. Again, it's a cliche, but it clearly did. Like we exposed them. We have a better midfield, objectively and subjectively, and we exposed them. I thought they all contributed fantastically well, and the whole team lifted on the back of that and followed their lead. I just think that, and hey, I love I love flying under the radar when you're sitting second on the fucking ladder, because I truly believe that the ladder is not lying in regards to our position on it. I think now we've got 1 game to go in the season. I think we can quite honestly say that we've been the second most consistent team all year. And much like any other team, we've had our bad patch of form. Wherever it comes in the season, everyone's had one. But we went into the bye 8-4, and we're now sitting in second place, having been challenged in the middle of the year and rebounding fantastically well to win 7 of our last 8 games thus up to this point. Like, we're not getting anywhere near the credit that we deserve. I mean, I say that we are, just not by some of the bigger movers and shakers in the footy analysis world. And maybe that's our own doing. You know, we sit here as fans. We know there's a breadth of fans that are all quite doubtful, because Port Adelaide Football Club in the AFL era has historically been a good home and away team. It's when it comes to finals. And that's it's not just a Hinkley thing, as kind of you and I reflecting on our 20th year anniversary in Premiership. It's unfortunately a bit of a characteristic of our club in the AFL era. Now, you know, that's a holistically a whole another story, and we could probably do an episode on that. But maybe that's a bit of it. We're being underestimated because, yeah, in recent time, we've had fantastic home and away seasons, and we haven't been able to get it done in the major round. But like, for me, I feel like some of the changes that we've made in season, some of the way that we're playing football, the depth across particularly the midfield, which we've spoken about a few times recently, the structure outside of that, like, I feel that we're doing it in a very professional way. We're being challenged in different ways. We smashed the top on the ladder. We smashed Western Bulldogs, who, again, probably one or two of Victoria's highest hopes for a premiership. Melbourne tried to drag us down to hell, and we got out of it. Like, the showdown's always an arm wrestle. Like, we're showing a lot of mettle. For me, we're winning in different way. We've got contributors all over. Like, we're in our spotlight segment, we literally are struggling to put anyone under the microscope with real kind of magnitude. And that's just it's just a byproduct of the fact that across every line on the field, everyone's contributing and everyone's playing their role. And funnily enough, we're winning games as a result.
Yeah. And that is just such the even teams nature of it. The fact we've done a few significant magnet switches, as we've talked about a few times over the year, whether it be Asava going forward or Bergman being more, you know, centralized in defense, and he's flourished again back there after having been, he just mentioned the microscope of the watch list. He was on there a little bit earlier in the year, but now he's probably one of our most consistent high-level performers and really impacting games in a significant way. Again, looking back to earlier in the year, talking about just not noticing Bergman in some games, and now it's impossible not to notice him taking a few big intercept marks a game, getting the ball moving out of the defensive 50.
I think in commentary they mentioned that he's now our top marking player in the club.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, exactly. You hear that and you go, yeah, I believe that straight away.
Because you just seen him pop up floating across a pack or just cutting, like, instead, and it's taken the load off Aaliyah and Zerk Thatcher a little bit. Those guys are still performing at an incredible level in tandem down there as the bigs, but they don't have, you know, Aaliyah's got a little bit more freedom to play his own game because he's not having to put spot fires out as he was earlier in the year, because Bergman and then, you know, Logan Evans coming in has been a revelation down there, as well as like a second sneakily tall, mobile, medium-sized defender. So you're getting performance, and then I think Jace Bergon had a really nice game in this one as well.
I agree. Yeah.
And just
Who's another proponent of the socks up?
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Yeah, especially wearing his old man's number on the back, and then the prison. There was a lot of good aesthetically pleasing things out of the game. Like, I watched the game live, and then I immediately once all the post game stuff had finished, I immediately put the replay on, and then my wife came out to sit down. I think midway through the second quarter, and watched the rest of the replay with me. And I just at one point just said, gee, like Aaliyah just took, it was in that period, I think in the second quarter, where Aaliyah took like 2 intercept marks in like a minute. Like he kicked, the ball went out and it came back and he just took another one again. And I just said, Aaliyah just is just aesthetically pleasing in the prison bar. Like the way he just carries himself is very dominating, and with that Guernsey on,
Uh,
just is fantastic. And obviously
it's
Horn
such a great
Francis,
Guernsey.
it is,
It's
yeah.
such a fantastic Guernsey. And then it had a bit of, it looked a bit grey and a little bit brown, like not brown, but like, yeah, it looked
The
sullied
grass
at the end.
stained,
And that
yeah.
kind of was a bit more endearing, like in
It,
a
it
way.
was. I said
Yeah.
to I said to Andrea towards the end of the game, I said, "Look at how many guys have got like their Guernsey, like the white on the prison bars is dirtied up." And then
Yeah.
there's the post match press conference with Butters sitting next to Ken, and just every part of the white you could see is just a slight
Yeah.
greeny brown tinge from having spent. Like, I mean, he's 42 disposals and 20 contested. He was getting in and dirty. And then obviously in the fracas that happened in the third quarter, and it was just everything that was going on in that second half. But yeah, it was really interesting to note. I mean, guys like Jason Horne-Francis, Willie Rioli, like, those guys have been here for almost two full home and away seasons now. That was their first showdown win. Logan Evans, Jace Burgoyne, I can't think if he was I know he's been around for a couple of years, but I can't think if he's played in a winning showdown. I'm
Well, it
unsure
would be
if
the
he has.
Robbie game, and I have a feeling he didn't
Yeah.
feature in that game. And yeah, Jordan Sweet's first showdown win as
Yes.
well, playing for
And
his
Jesus, he was.
boyhood supported club.
Yeah, and what a fucking warrior Jordan Sweet is. Let's just give
Oh,
some.
I thought he had a palpable impact on the game. Like live,
He had a
I
palpable impact on my mental health for 5 minutes there when I thought he was
on
done.
your pants. Oh yeah. I was going to say in your pants, but yeah,
That
yeah, I know
too,
what you
quite
mean.
often. But
But yeah, he
no,
battled through it. On the night, like, oh, especially because he, like we mentioned, he had a down game against Max Gorn, which he's got a lot of friends in that camp across the
yeah,
league. But the way that he came back and played on Saturday night against Rob, who is a old school tap behemoth kind of ruckman.
and they've been in good form over
Sweet's
the last
impact.
couple of weeks. Rob he'd
Yeah,
had
yeah.
120 hitouts or something. I don't think it's quite that number, but it was over 100
Mm.
hitouts in the last 2 weeks that Rob had. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I love Sweet's game.
Mhm.
Yeah, just again, just another role player,
Yeah.
doing his job, and I loved it. Yeah, but
He shaded
the-
the hitouts and the hitouts to advantage. Charlie Dixon, by the way, had another really good game in the chop out role as well. So
yes,
just to
I
touch on that.
noticed.
Yes.
But just
yeah.
on the prison bars, like I love, I love our, I love our AFL era Guernsey. Oh well, I mean it's not a whole AFL era Guernsey. That was poorly worded, but I love our current AFL Guernsey. Um, there's the warehouse manager at my work. He's a Richmond fan, born out of Glenelg fandom, so he's really a Crows supporter. When it comes to SA, yeah, his opinions are a bit how you going, and he doesn't watch a lot of football, which is not surprising to anyone listening.
Okay,
Only when
well.
Richmond make the finals, so
Mhm.
yeah, he's tuned out for the last couple of years. But and he's the type of guy who he wouldn't be alone in saying that, kind of hangs shit on the fact that our Guernsey was designed by a kid.
Mhm.
And I guess that just sums up the difference in kind of club mentality for me. Like for me, our AFL Guernsey is born out of connection with our community. Like it
Mhm.
was a competition back in the mid to late 2000s of fans of the club who were school age to contribute for a once-off Guernsey in a particular round, a particular game that we played every year. And I don't think we ended up doing that many because there was such a good reception from the one that we now inevitably wear for most of our games this season, our definitely our home Guernsey. And I love that. I
Yeah.
love that it was a supporter of the club being connected to their club, designing a Guernsey. And look, it's a state Guernsey with the colors changed or whatever it is. It's the fact that it was designed by a fan of our club, a kid, it just epitomizes our club
in one way for me. And I love that. I love it. I love it. It looks good. Every player that comes into our club, whether it be drafted or traded, look great in it. It just has that. V's are aesthetically pleasing. That's a fact.
They shape a fit body well, especially in the modern cut of Guernseys.
Yeah, but then when you like the prison bar Guernsey is just sex on fabric. Like
This sex is on fabric.
Fabric, yeah. It's just too good for its own good.
Mm.
And especially now in the AFL, like it's not lace ups or anything. It's nice and clean. You got the white trim on the collar and the sleeves. Like it would have to come down to a vote of the members. But if, and it'll never happen because that we all know that the AFL's run out of Melbourne. And like we're so immature with this type of thing, and it's ridiculous. But if it would have to come down to a vote of the members of the AFL has given us carte blanche to decide. Collingwood doesn't matter, except for when you play them away.
Yeah. Which is fine. That's the way it should be.
Okay, so that's the scenario.
Yeah.
You, the Port Adelaide members, what do you want to see? Yeah.
It would be a really interesting generational issue, but a lot of
that's an interesting point too.
A lot of younger fans that are invested in the club do have an understanding and appreciation for that history too. So it would be really interesting.
I was born in 91, so my early football memories are the Power, and it was the original Power Guernsey. But again, just through that, whether it's indoctrination or research, love, tradition, you just find a connection to our history. Again, that's why we're one of the best clubs in the world.
Fact, undeniable fact.
It would be a very interesting situation, and I kind of think that if we had free reign, it would probably get voted back in. But it would have to come down to the vote. And look, if it didn't, like I said, I love our current AFL Guernsey, but just I just
when you see
seeing it live in a win, it makes it obviously a bit more romantic as well. But and like it's humorous, all the fucking bullshit that from people who have no idea, or they have too much of an idea for their own good, and they just pretending to be a fucking idiot for the sake of argument.
Which makes it not so much pretending, because if you are that inclined to just be a dickhead like that, then you are a bit of a fucking idiot. Like there's something wrong up there.
Anything that pulling out the maroon Guernsey or the blue and white Guernsey or whatever, the pink fucking Guernsey from 140 years ago,
which we've worn before, by the way. And
you're only doing that out of jealousy. And hey, you know what's up. Like our club, when anyone thinks of the Port Adelaide Football Club across 100 years, the Prison Bar Guernsey is synonymous with that. Like it's undeniable. We've won the vast majority of our premierships in that Guernsey. It's undeniable the connection that it has with our club. And I just think that
beyond that, just the artistic element of it actually representing something that is deeply connected with our area, like the Port Adelaide Pylons. Like this stuff is
and then the fact that
it's a connect. Yeah,
like the prison bars was used in a derogatory way, and then we flipped it on everyone to own it. Like it's just got such a famous story and a famous history that, like, I don't think the club is putting in a lot of effort now. Like now that we've got it in the one showdown,
which
I'm okay
I
think
with.
they're taking a break. Yeah. But it would be interesting. Like the Aussie rules football is not going to die tomorrow. Like we're going to have Australian rules football, especially at the top level, for another 100 years. So there may be a time, there may not be, but I just every time I see it and I see us wearing it, I just think if this came down to a vote, you just get the feeling that people would just go, "That's our Guernsey." Like if we had it our way coming into the AFL, we would be wearing it anyway. So, yeah, just a bit of a tangent about it. It's just something that's filled my mind ever, like good night of football, wearing it, and just thinking about the undeniable iconography
Yeah.
like of it all. Yeah, it's just
There's
fantastic.
there's a lot of people that still may say it's the best. Like, when there's I think it's a video on the socials. It's probably been on TV as
Yeah.
well.
Like
Guys like
Dennis Cometti and stuff like that.
Cometti and
getting interviewed.
McAvaney. Yeah, they're both talking about it, just saying it's one of my favorite Guernseys. And there's a lot of people, if you actually ask them, they speak of it in just high glowing regard. As far and
Yeah,
say
Buckley
that, and it shouldn't.
attributed it to putting on a suit of armor in
Yes.
that kind of same package that you're talking
Yes.
about.
Yeah,
Like,
you know the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
yeah.
I forgot about it.
I've watched that video and videos like it like 100
Yeah.
times. I love that shit.
Yeah.
I love the club, obviously. So yeah,
Mhm.
just anything like that, I'm sinking my teeth into.
Mhm.
Especially when it comes to things that happened when I was a little kid or not even born. Like,
Yeah.
love delving back into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and it was wonderful to see. It is, because I think the only time I've seen it live myself, because the last showdown I went to, we only obviously got the permission to start wearing it once a year last year, and I was over in the US, so it wasn't a thing. So the only game I've seen it live was the elimination final in 2014. Against and the vibes are just that's a significant memory of mine, just watching us, and it is a very good color match, like playing against the Richmond in their traditional strip
In the
against
well, they were in the yellow.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
were they though? Because they part of it was
because
kind of a
that was the whole that capped off the whole stupid scenario of it, is that because our home Guernsey apparently looked too much like it was too confusing for Richmond's away Guernsey. We either had to wear our away Guernsey, and look, like when you look at the fucking canary yellow, you're going, what the fuck are you talking about?
Mm.
So then, yeah, the alternative was to wear our away strip at home, we got special permission to wear the prison bars.
I love I love that we did that back then. I think that was quite like, you're not going to let us wear because we should have been away from that because we dealt with it back in the early 2000s. Well, I do love that the club. This is a tangent, but
they still had to sort permission, and like the AFL ticked
and get them manufactured quick.
Look, yeah, that too. Yeah, you can't wear your home your home like official home Guernsey, but you can wear a throwback Guernsey that's really only going to make you play better because of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Richmond, they still wore their Richmond. Yeah, their yellow away strip anyway. And that
it
was a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Bars. Yeah, I've obviously went to last year's showdown that we lost in it.
Mm.
I went to that elimination final, but we played Carlton the last game at Footy Park in 2013.
Yeah,
we actually wore it as well, and we fucking lost that game by like under a goal, which was disappointing.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's a wonderful,
interesting thought. Thought experiment, because look, who knows? Yeah, if the AFL will ever grow up in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Signs would say no at this point, but it's nice to talk about, and an interesting thought that I just couldn't stop thinking about post game.
It is nice that they've actually sorted it for the women as well, by the way, for the showdown. The opening game of the AFLW season, which we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll figure that out next week. But
and they're actually playing at Alberton. So
yes, which is even more, even more amazing to actually get to play an AFL game at Alberton in the prison bars.
I love it. And I like seeing a few pieces of feedback which I kind of just cringe at, or not even cringe. Like, I'm just pretty disappointed, because I think some of it has even been like from supporters, to be honest, just about the women's team's worthiness to wear it. So adding a layer probably to it, but in my opinion, like, if there was women's football 50 years ago, at Alberton, that's what they would be wearing. Like, that's And again, for the showdown for me, and I don't think it's something that gets tapped into enough leading up to the game, especially our home game, wearing it, is the story of SA in the AFL and how that came to be. I really, when we got the tick of approval, I kind of expected there to be not like a mini documentary, but some like just stories about, Port Adelaide's push. I mean, we've got our own documentaries, but on Prime, like on Channel 7 and stuff like that, I thought there would be a bit more of that, because I thought it was part of the point, to be honest, is we're going to wear our prison bars in the showdown because it tells a story. Adelaide wouldn't be here without our push. We wouldn't be here without our push. We come from the SANFL, like da-da-da-da-da. The Adelaide Crows represent everyone except us. And, I that's what I've kind of expected since it got ticked off, but it hasn't really been there. So you kind of, if you're not a Port Adelaide fan and you're not a delusional everyone else fan, you got to kind of find out that info yourself, like Victorian football supporters, interstate supporters who don't know the whole story, who aren't privy to everything involved. Yeah. Like I thought it's a good opportunity to kind of further the story to everyone else and open everyone else up to it. But yeah, it just hasn't been there, which is a bit disappointing.
Which would be good, because it would, right some of the wrongs of some of the misinformation that gets constantly spread on social media, whether it be how we entered the AFL or the history behind the Guernsey or why it's important to, like, there's a lot of things that just, misinformation spreads, easy on the internet because it's easier to read something and,
spread the fact that there is rich Aussie rules culture further than the Victorian border.
Further than Ballarat, basically. Like, west of that, and it's just like, they don't care. But there's a rich history and one of the most successful clubs in world sports. Wearing that Guernsey and then just all the other stuff that comes with it, like the established 1997 stuff and all that stuff. It's just complete. Like, as someone who literally studied history in college, it just boils my brain, because I'm just like, what? It's all there.
Well,
and to find very easily, but you'd rather
clicks away.
And you can even show it to them, and they're like, "Well, I just know what I know." It's just like, "Well, no, that's not."
That's right. Yeah,
that's not good.
Jealousy
that's
and
not good humaning. You're actively choosing to be a fuckhead, and you're actually thinking, "Yeah, I know what I know," which is basically saying I'm like an ignorant fuck, and it's very annoying, but it is.
Yeah,
that's why it's so important.
Narrative.
Yeah. I'm doing my own research. God.
Yeah. Don't go there. One thing I would say is that you probably follow him on Twitter. His handle is AFL Glico. He does a lot of like data modeling and
he does his tips modeling and He has Port close to favourite now, or at least in the grand final.
He said that Port being in the grand final had the most likelihood out of any others. Yeah.
Which immediately scares me, but...
Oh, fuck yeah. I shit my pants when I saw that. But
I've talked to... speaking of modelling, we talked about it earlier in the year, disaster modelling that you do in your brain.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so gets close to finals, but he's a Geelong supporter, is basically what I was saying. And obviously, a learned young man. I think he's still a young adult. But yeah, some of that bullshit came up, and even he was just like, it literally takes you 5 minutes to learn that you're wrong. Like,
I remember that actually.
He's like 19 years old.
Yeah.
He's in Victoria. He goes for Geelong, who have a proud history as well, funnily enough. So, maybe it's a bit of that, strong club kind of like, who the fuck, like, shut the fuck up. Like,
it's just having the critical thinking. But
yes,
God, it's sorely missing in AFL fandom. And I guess it's probably maybe a good chance to move on to the incident of the match at this point. I don't know where to start with. I guess the bump itself. Start with that. I said at one point, yeah, early on, 15, 20 years ago, it's ticked. I think people mentioned it, Byron Pickett's bump and Bigland's got 0 weeks, and that's not to say, although Bigland's did initiate contact there as well, but
Happened
yeah, look,
a
we
lot with
understand.
Byron.
Yeah, and we'll say, like, we're recording this, it's just about 4 p.m. Alberton time, so we don't know what's happening at the tribunal. You and we haven't actually spoken about this much in before the podcast, but I know you pretty well at this point. We're both cognizant and accepting that a ban's coming and have no problem with it because that's the current realm that we operate in. Have no problem with it. He'll get, like, I think it was graded careless and the other factors. It means that it's a minimum of 3 weeks. I think the AFL is going to ask for 5. Port are going to argue, and we'll see where it falls in. I think it's going to be 4 to 5. That's where I'm picking. And while I hate it because I want Dan Houston available for us going, and obviously this is the worst time of year to be losing because he essentially is likely going to have his season ended regardless of how long it lasts. So we have no problem with that. But the bump itself was, first of all, Mark Keane, you useless fuck. Just take the mark. You're uncontested and double, because that's the one bit.
He's halfway out the door to Collingwood, though.
Yeah. Fucking useless Irish wanker. He, like, that's the thing, that because some people were like, "Oh, Rankin was in a marking con, like he shouldn't have, like Houston should have been there." I'm like, it wasn't a fucking marking. That's the first bit of misinformation on the internet from the fucking dumbass cunt Crows fans that were saying, "Oh, Rankin was going for the mark." Like, why was Houston even lining him up? It's like, it wasn't a mark because Mark Keane, uncontested, had 2 fists towards the ball. It's just, so Rankin was just trying to take the ball, but it was there to be contested. It was a ball in live play. It wasn't a marking. So, yes, the split second, it's a big thing that's been talked about, split second decisions in footy. And we've talked about it at times this year as well. The bump can be, and we've talked about it a few times, I think, at times as well. There's been some really great bumps that have been legal and perfect that Port players have executed this year. I can't think of an instance, but I know in reviews we've been like, that was a good bump. But the bump hasn't been made illegal in the AFL. Yes, you could say he should have tackled, and I think, but then a tackle coming in at that speed that Houston was coming in at probably ends up in some form of probably
concussion.
Concussion probably actually would have resulted in a free kick. It is, yeah. And we do
snigger. Not at the outcome. It's more the AFL, and
it's the what he could have done thing, because it's either you start talking about shirking a contest, and then we start talking about Josh Riccelli and the fact that he doesn't even wear a mouthguard. But the bump itself, like what's Houston meant to do? I don't know in that situation because you tackle or bump.
He closed the space very well, very quickly.
Yeah. He
There's
didn't leave his feet. He actually kind of pulled up a little bit right at the end. There's been, again, the hyperbolic dumbasses on Twitter will say Houston went through him. He did pull up. Like, if he'd gone through him, like, just picking out an example, like Isaiah Pickett's bump from, I think, the start of last year, where he left the ground on an angle and launched into a player, that would have actually hit him in the head. It has been interesting, and I'm not going to... Wayne Carey and bumps is an interesting discussion because he does like a bump of
prescription
of his crushed up prescription painkillers.
Persuasions,
But you got, so I'm not going to use Wayne Carey as the virtue of what's everything that's right and right. He came out. They're really interesting. Brendan is. I think one of the shows did a little smash cut of Brendan Favola being like, I don't think it should be any weeks. And then it smashed to David King being like, that should be 8 weeks. It was just a really great insight into just how no one fucking actually, there's so many varying opinions on this, because the contact start point was at the chest. It did rise up. The shoulder does rise up and get the chin. I'm not going to say it just does get it. Like,
because Rankin's coming back down as well. His head flops. So
there's a whiplash action, and then it is. And obviously, I don't think I've said it at the top, so I should say it now. Yeah, we obviously feel for Rankin. Like, we don't want to see this stuff, and so we hope his recovery is swift, and he doesn't have any lasting things from it.
I absolutely agree. And he was a Port Adelaide Aboriginal Academy member as well. early days before he was drafted, funnily enough. So he's spent a little bit of time at Alberton.
Yeah.
Not that
Yeah,
it matters
I
either
wasn't
way.
I wasn't
Just
aware
an
of that, but we
interesting note.
people that come through Port Adelaide,
And I mean,
yeah.
yeah, at the ground, I was much like the commentary team. Like in the moment, you're just like, fuck yeah. Like this is a showdown. Fucking laid him out. However, once you
Expecting him to
realize
bounce back
someone's,
up. Yeah, you a
yeah,
guy goes
I mean,
hard bumps happen and guys
whether
get back up often.
like the majority of AFL fans, like we always talk about our love for the game touches on those tribal instincts that we as humans kind of have sitting below the surface. We all love a bit of contact, combat about the game. People with
We used to release
that
DVDs of
mindset,
Biff Bumps and Brawlers
yeah, and like
volume 15, you
yeah,
know?
throwing punches and fighting and shit like that's yeah, something else. But yeah, there's like that instinctual nature of humanity that just loves fucking seeing bodies clashing, bodies bumping into each other, like a bit of toughness because it is a contact sport at the end of the day. So yeah, in the moment, I was just like, fuck yeah, like
Mm.
it's on. But you see a guy stunned and shocked. He's got straight arms and his eyes are rolling back in his head, and you go, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty serious. And yeah, you hope he has a swift and healthy recovery. But yeah, you also have to line up some of these facts, and yeah, it was a heavy hit. But like
Mm.
you said, Houston stayed on the ground. It is a legal action initially by the the AFL. The AFL have themselves to blame in these situations because they allow it to happen for fear of the backlash that of outlawing the bump, as it
Mm.
were. Unfortunately, I think the look of it is what's going to hurt Dan Houston the most. Like you said, we all agree with the rule as such that if you choose to bump and if a player gets concussed, then unfortunately you're going to have to miss out
Yeah,
on
it's going
some
to
games of
be a
football.
minimum of 3 based on the careless or intentional grading, and then we go on from there as to severity and all those other factors. Yeah.
And it's funny you should say a minimum of 3 because it reminds me a lot of the Charlie Dixon bump in the SANFL that he got
Mm.
suspended for because it was a legal bump in play. He didn't get him high initially. And then in the SANFL, the gentleman who was concussed, it was as a result of him hitting the ground hard. It reminded me a lot of that. So then, all this vitriol about 6 weeks and fucking Kingy just getting back on his soapbox after softening recently in other regards. And like, yeah, it will be
I
a
love a
very
soapbox.
interesting night. And yeah, like you can't help but think that the AFL is going to somewhat make an example of Dan Houston purely because of how it looks,
And the trial by
and
media
maybe not
afterwards.
necessarily because of the facts.
Yeah.
I mean,
do.
And then and they're only just it's just a pool of decision making that and then the arguments we've heard are, well, Rankin was actually the one that hit another player off the ball earlier in the season. And that guy was also concussed and he got 4. So why?
And that was a very similar shirt. That was a shirt front off the ball, though. It was,
yeah. And whether you want to say it was a harder hit or a softer hit, or Starcevic had it coming, which is part of the fucking bullshit that I've seen from some brainless idiots. Like, which just kind of goes against their own argument a little bit. Like, it was a plan and all that fucking shit. Yeah, when you line up the facts, like Houston didn't leave the ground. He got him in the chest. The ball was in play. Rankin had the ball. Unfortunately, due to Dan Houston's bad decision in hindsight, he got concussed. I hope for consistency. I don't want Dan Houston's season ended. I love Dan Houston, and I would agree with Ken Hinkley's sentiments after the game, and some of the other sentiments is like it's a pretty out of character moment because of the magnitude of the hit. And I don't think Houston's been suspended at all in his career. I can't
No,
remember if he
I
has. I
can't think
can't
of one.
remember it.
Yeah.
And whether because look, whatever the tribunal, like whatever the AFL and the tribunal decide, we're going to challenge it. Obviously, like it's
Yeah, because they will try
we
to
have to. Yeah, we have to act. Yeah, act in the best interests of our players and our clubs because we got a season alive and we want our best players out. And like, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what gets laid out initially and what the club's stance on it is. I wouldn't imagine they would just accept anything that the tribunal lays down or the AFL provides as a starting point. So,
yeah. I think
yeah, it's an interesting few hours to come.
yeah. As I said off the top here, we're recording. It's just 4:08 p.m. In Adelaide at the moment. So yeah, we're probably a couple of hours away from tribunal proceedings. So it'll probably be likely after we've recorded. Well, it will be after we've recorded that we find out what the initial ban is before any subsequent challenges to that by the Port Adelaide Footy Club. Which yeah, it's just in their best interest and responsibility to utilise the AFL system as best as possible to see if they can reduce it to any point. Don't think it's going to get reduced to a point that he plays again this year, but it is as unfortunate as some might see it because but we're not talking about lawyers battling for convicted murderers or anything like that. We're talking about we're talking about footy, so it is fine that they go out and try to challenge these things. It's part of it.
Yeah, exactly. And
so
whether they try the good guy clause that we've seen
there is
already
a lot of
been used this year. Like
that is one. Yeah,
I mean, again with the danger modeling is everyone's like, oh yeah, is there a scenario where the tribunal gives him 3 or 4 so that he can play the grand final? And I'm like, whoa, like that's a big assumption for a Port Adelaide team who hasn't made a grand final in however 17 years.
17 years,
yeah. Come on, that's assuming a lot. I'm here for it, like in a way. I desperately hope we're playing in the grand final as well, but just assuming that if he gets they're going to change it so that he can play the grand final. That's a bit much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did you see the obviously controversy in it, which I myself just from watching on TV is storming a teacup because the vast majority of Port fans that I could see in the footage were clapping and doing what fans do, which is be sporting. But there has been some fucking hyperbolic dumbassery from whether it be certain Crow podcasts or certain Crow affiliated radio stations like 5AA and David Penberthy, who's a fucking I don't even care at the moment. I'll put it on the podcast. He's a fucking wanker. He goes on the radio and says, "Oh, it was really disappointing and quite disgusting how Port fans."
I've seen your comment in reply
and he
to
says
that video.
he says it was a minority, but then he says it was almost deafening, which is irresponsible hyperbole from someone. You're completely conflicting your own statement. A minority cannot be almost deafening in a 52,000 seater stadium. It's just. So how was it from your point? Because obviously I'm viewing it from TV and not everything, and I'm seeing, but it does. It doesn't, and it's just what it feeds into, and what a lot of we'll get into some of the other stuff that's been coming.
People will just
they're feeding into this stereotype of Port fans. It is just such an easy stereotype to fall back on, but I find that disgusting. And then when you wrap it up in the Josh Riccelli comments, which I don't have much problem with him saying what he said on radio, but then found the celebration a little bit over the top. But
I loved it. I loved it the whole way because before I get to the crowd and touch on Josh Riccelli, I thought it was really funny that he said it not only once but twice on radio. Partly because it is a tired, like old, corny statement. But B, I was like, well, you want to fucking back it up. Like, you're going to cop it now. Like, you want to... And then, so he kicks the goal in, what was it, the second quarter.
Puts him one goal up.
And I was
In the
like,
second
"Oh,
quarter.
you're going well, like, have you not learnt like with the shushing? Like, it's because it was essentially a bit of a shush moment. I was
It
like,
was.
it's the second quarter, bud.
Mm.
Like, you're gonna like, you want to hope you guys win from this point on, and
Or
inevitably they didn't, and fell out of the game
I was going to say,
severely.
or you touch the ball again.
Yeah. Yeah, so in that regard, I thought it was hilarious. I thought
Mm.
what was it? Um the um the Lerman trial. What was the quote? Escaped the lion's den and then went back to grab his hat.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah. The
yeah,
The
it's
Bruce
since
Lerman
yeah,
trial. Yeah,
Bruce
yeah,
Lerman, that's it.
yeah.
Yeah, and oh man, yeah, you just like yeah, you're going into the lion's den, an away showdown, and yeah, you'd want to back it up, and just made me happy that he absolutely did not. It was a nice goal. I'll give him that.
Yeah,
But yeah, so putting that to one side, because I really just take the moral high ground on that. I've got a full set of teeth, as
yeah.
our viewers on YouTube would have just seen. Yeah. And then, sorry, before I move on, and then someone grabbing the screenshot of the one Crow supporter who's missing all of their like 4 to 6 front teeth, just looking and look. I think I've seen that person before, and I think they're intellectually disabled. So I don't. This isn't a personal
It is
thing,
just yeah.
like, but it's just ironic.
Well, because Crows fans are in my mentions or in the Creed account mentions over the last like putting some of those photos of from a Port game earlier this year. I think that is one that's been
Oh
shared around a
yeah,
lot,
yeah,
and it's just like
yeah.
this. I find that a little bit uncouth. Like
It's so glass
and
houses to the
yeah,
max.
and then because then I've seen some Crows accounts be like, well, you call us Chardonnay snippers, and it's Chardonnay sippers, and cheese platters and all that kind of apricot slices. I kind of liken it to how, and this is just a analogy that will make sense to people that have a brain, and those that find it weird will just do some research. It's kind of like the notion of people that are white saying they've been called a white bastard in the parkland, and it's like that's not the same level of racism that you think it is.
You
Like
think it is? Yeah.
calling someone a Chardonnay sipper is not the same as being classist against someone that is beaten down by the system and can't get ahead and can't afford dental. That is that is a different level than if you're offended by being called a Chardonnay sipper because you enjoy a good lifestyle. That is not the same thing as someone that's been beaten down by a capitalist system. So don't do that. And that's why I find it a bit the whole thing a bit uncouth. But I don't like.
Well,
I
the
didn't.
apricot slice, that was the advertiser. That was their own fucking rag.
Yeah,
Mouthpiece rag that
call-
literally put that as their front page.
The call's coming from inside the house.
And then they lost the showdown directly after that front
Yeah.
page because I was there at Footy Park. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's a side note,
that was a bit of fun. But
Yeah.
the crowd after the
Mhm.
incident, I think you're an idiot if you think that the boos were for Isaac Rankin. The boos, in actual fact, were the bunch of Crow supporters realizing that we still were paid Jason Horne-Francis's mark. And it makes it even more ridiculous. And we do a podcast,
Mhm.
so we watch reviews or we watch Vision multiple times. So it is everyone just piecing memory back together, and we all know how well that serves the human race. Like, eyewitness accounts aren't acceptable in the court of law.
Mhm.
Eyewitness recounts are all taken with a grain of salt because we now know that the memory does fail you after a certain amount of time. The booze in question happened so long after he went off. It happened. I watched it. I watched it again last night, and I'm like, what the booing by the crowd. There was such a huge gap. I was like, how can you honestly piece the two together? It was quite obviously Crow supporters booing the fact that we still had the ball in the eyes of the umpires.
And there's just so much going on in the immediate aftermath as well. Like the crowd was up in arms. Like no one knew what was going on, and there's alcohol involved. Like there's just so much noise and it's just to attribute it to suddenly think that a poor crowd came together to do that.
To boo a guy who's knocked out, it's just totally incorrect. I did see in the vision that there was a couple of fucking idiots like waving him down the race, where on the stretcher.
Yeah.
But
But if you
again,
think
the whole glass houses thing that you kind of alluded to before, it's just pointless exercise to try and cast aspersions across a whole fan base based on a clear minority of people within that fan base. And to the contrary, maybe there was a portion of Port fans booing the fact that the Crows wanted to engage in a bit of argy-bargy and you kind of just like egging your own team on to push back.
which
I mean,
yeah.
again, with the bump, I was kind of like, get stuck in.
Mm.
It's a bit of a pantomime in a way. But yeah, like honestly, the vast majority of people with a brain who were at the game, clapped him off, like understood the situation that was going on, wished him all the best. And again, if we're out here casting aspersions, I remember fucking Jay Schultz getting poked in the eye in a showdown and he got booed. He actually got booed when he was coming off the ground. So we can all cherry pick
I think it was
stories.
Jay Schultz's missus retweeted someone who posted that article and actually there's quotes in the article about like some of the things that were being said to Jay Schultz about him being a pussy and going off the field, and then like
he missed games. He'd need eye surgery after.
Yeah. There's a photo.
Yeah.
I just saw it on social media today. And his eyes, he's got stitches in his eyes, completely closed up and bruised, and it was
Hussy.
So and again, it was a minority of Crows fans, but they did the same thing. So it's
probably a bigger minority than what fucking David Penberthy was talking about
exactly
in that instance. But yeah, again, I can cherry pick memories of Crows fans acting like fucking idiots, and Crows fans can cherry pick. It's all ridiculous at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fact of the matter is the very, very, very high majority of people on both sides obviously were, once everyone realized what had happened and he was going off the ground, everyone wished him well in their drunken or sober stupor in the moment. It's just a ridiculous thing. Again, preaching to some choir on 5AA while contradicting yourself is very on brand, which, I mean,
I've had my issues with Penbo.
I'm shit on Penbo and Will ourselves just in conversations that we've had. Like, it's nothing surprising.
Yeah. Penbo lost his mind about a female boxer a few weeks ago, which I'm sure everyone knows that story. And probably if you know Penbo like I do, you know exactly what his point of view was. I found what was even more has been disconcerting in the days since, because the passion on the night is one thing, but the sanctimonious fuckhead Crows fans in the aftermath, calling Dan Houston a dog, calling him a dirty prick, calling him a sniper, like just fuck off.
I heard some guy calling up about when Tom Jonas fucking whacked Andrew Gaff in the back of the head, and now it's like almost exactly the same. And I was like, so therefore Dan Houston needs 6 weeks. And it's very he's sanctimonious.
Oh my
God.
Yeah,
great word to describe. Very holier than thou, entitled, would I say, kind of attitude. Like, your shit does in fact stink. It doesn't smell like roses. And look, you were inches away from us having the knocked out guy earlier in the fucking game.
Even worse,
your fucking idiot who tunneled him.
A possible broken neck from that kind of incident. That's
absolutely. Yeah. And it is all because Lachie Jones didn't get concussed. We're all just expected to forget it happened because someone else unfortunately got concussed. And
I genuinely don't know, even if Jones had been concussed in that tunnelling incident with Riley Thilthorpe. I'm sure anyone listening knows what we're talking about. I still don't, because the way the AFL adjudicates this stuff, it isn't a bump. Sometimes they just seem to tick it off. Like, if concussions happen in any other way that doesn't involve a bump, it sometimes just doesn't end up in any sanction at all. Whereas what Riley Thilthorpe did is in of itself an illegal act in the game, unlike what Dan Houston did.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Harris Andrews got fined, like, what, last week, the week before, for doing the exact same thing.
Yeah. So the
I
fact
think
that
it might
yeah.
not have been Harris Andrews. I'm pretty sure a member of the Brisbane Lions got
Mhm.
fined for tunneling recently. It was just like a 1 week crackdown. And then
Yeah.
I don't know if Thilthorpe has even copped any punishment
There's
for
been
it.
a bunch of
And
fines out of the game.
that's an
Yeah.
illegal act. And
Yeah.
again, it adds to the confusion and ridiculousness of the fact that you can get rubbed out for multiple. You can have your season ended for doing something that,
As
I'm
Graham
not trying to be an
Corns,
apologist,
no, but as
but is
Graham Corns,
part of the game. Yeah,
number
yeah.
one, number one Port hater
Mr.
was
Adelaide Crow. Yeah.
he's on the radio because people are ringing up. Someone rang up and said like, what the biggest thing that the problem is, and this has been something that's been going around, was and Mark Robinson between his bottles of red wine or whatever the fuck he does, writing his article about like the biggest thing was the umpires missing it, and Graham Corns kind of said to a caller last night, just like, what was the umpire meant to do? It was a bump. It didn't get him high. If the umpires, it was such a fast moving play as well because it obviously said it came from a spoil, came to Rankin, the ball spills out from Rankin. Like there's a lot going on in that moment. And if the umpires aren't immediately seeing something that's clear as day high, then they're not going to call anything. So yeah, this is an incident that by the letter of the law, as Graham Corn said, you can argue that there was nothing wrong with the play itself because the AFL still allows that action, unlike the tunnelling. So,
well, and I thought you, through the Creed account and friend of the pod, Timmy Nash, I thought for Tim, if he's listening, I loved his discourse on multiple topics in the fallout of the game. Very level-headed and very mature. But you yourself and him, with the discussion in regards to the send-off rule, which again got brought up, I thought you both had very, very
I want to give myself
appropriate arguments.
Yeah. I want to give myself a frontal lobotomy when I fucking hear about the send-off rule. And every time it comes up, people...
Excuse me.
Jared Waitley, who brought it up? Oh, was it Gary Lyon?
Kane did on Round So Far.
Okay.
That was the first, probably, AFL accredited
and it's been
show kind of thing that mentioned it.
Yeah.
Every
show.
and then a few times got carried on from there. And for those, obviously, that aren't on Twitter, like Dave and some other sensible Port fans, was just basically saying that if we can't trust the umpires to make holding the ball calls correctly on the ground, like how the fuck are they supposed to adjudicate a send-off? And yeah, what are the parameters for something like that? Considering what we've said is that what Dan Houston did was legal. The AFL haven't outlawed the bump. So and like
that's what Timmy
again,
said.
The Lockie Jones thing, like
Timmy said Thilthorpe should have been sent off then, and then they'd be down 2. Like, yeah.
Well, they're going, now the Crows are 1 player down. Like Port should be 1 player down. And at that moment that happened, we were 1 player down. Like, funnily enough, all forgotten. But yeah, long story short, yeah. And if you wanted to, explain what you were saying better, because you're here to say it, yeah. It's just you can't trust them to do it properly. So
yeah, and leagues around the world that have send-off rules don't have the post-match adjudication nearly as serious. Like the Premier League's very cut and dry. It's like if you get a straight red card, you're out for 3 games, which in a 38-game season is less of a percentage than the 4 to 5 to 6 weeks that we're currently talking. And the way the AFL is going at the moment, if they're bringing a send-off rule, they'd send you off and then you'd still lose 6 weeks. So you're essentially losing 6.5, 7 weeks, whatever it may be from a game. So you're getting, and that's the same in the NFL. If you target with the head, you get sent off, and and in college, you get ejected from the game, and then depending on what happened in the game, you might miss the first half. They actually just ban you for the first half of a game. You can be suited up and ready to go for the second half of a game, and that's for deliberate targeting, because they kind of look at how you've launched it. If you've gone head first with the crown of your helmet and an opposing player in a college football game at their head, they're like, yeah, you're ejected and you might miss the first half. So you essentially get banned for a full game and can play the second half of a game. Yeah.
2 different games, yeah.
So yeah, all these people are they're like, oh, all these fucking idiots that don't actually watch much international sport or watch it well enough to understand how it works within the parameters and mechanics of how that sport works throughout its season, the percentage of game time you miss. Don't realize that yes, they have a send off rule, but they don't have nearly. There's no sport in the world that has the post match adjudication and tribunal hearings and the percentage of games missed of the season that we have. Yeah, NBA. Draymond Green has been nut punching and hitting players off for 15 years of his career now, and he finally after just that many controversies, I think
many instances. Yeah, he got much rope.
He got a 15-game ban this year after just having a career that was just full of it. But this is an 82-game season in the NBA, so it's still like it's such a like, so he essentially 5 or 6 games after a career of it, whereas we're doing Dan Houston, fair player, has never been suspended, is immediately going to possibly get what is almost 25% of a season ban if the worst case scenario happens or more. Yeah. Like, you've got guys out there asking for, like, David King wants 8 weeks. That shouldn't be 8 weeks, and I don't think it will be. But if it's 5-6 weeks, we're talking 20 to 25% of a season. So that's why the send-off rule is so fraught with danger, is you're going to bring that in, possibly have some mechanics within send-offs that gets a rule, and then there'll still be probably tribunal hearings that they'll then add games on. It's just, it doesn't work. The AFL is a game, like, it's just, again, people look for a Band-Aid kind of fix-all, but they don't actually think about the fact that if we can't get any umpiring stuff right, then this is just going to become a part of it. And if you start making it, umpires can make a ruling on something that happens on the rule. Like, again, Dan Houston did a legal thing, but because the guy got concussed, then, oh no, you get thrown out based on the outcome rather than the action. That's so fraught with danger. And yeah, it's you're an idiot if you're engaging in this conversation, because it's just, if you don't think about it, I can't believe that it's a thing. And I can't help. Yeah, Gary Lyon, that's the one thing he brought up. He's like, oh, I'm leaning that way now. I'm like, of course you are. You've been out of the game long enough and you're getting paid so well. You're going to start leaning that way. But then Nathan Buckley just kind of sits there and goes, well, how will it work? And Gary Lyon's like, I don't know. There's other people.
I don't know.
And Nathan Buckley, I used to hate Nathan Buckley when he played, just because he was Collingwood and whatever our history with them at the time. But Buckley just leaned back in his chair and goes, well, when you figure it out, let me know. Buckley's just like, this doesn't, like, he's basically between the lines. He's saying this doesn't fucking work.
Buckley does stick up a lot for the players, and he genuinely knows what can happen on a foot and how hard it is to play and how quickly people have to think. Like, he does put his hand up a lot. And interestingly enough, he's kind of saying, I think it's going to be 4 to 5 weeks. When he was one of the ones with Sam Powell-Pepper way back in preseason saying, I think it should only be 2 or 3. He does, because he gets
he's got a read of probably the season. He's not that far removed. Yeah, I was saying he's got a read of what's happened this season and probably gone, and I think you and I both understanding that it probably could be that, and we don't. Yeah, it's just what it is.
And just, I can't help but think that the whole conversation about the send-off rule is it's just the AFL media machine just chugging along, just creating storylines to then review upon constantly. And if and when there is a send-off rule that for whatever reason gets brought in, and then it's talking about how bad it's being like run and
the send-off rule would be like the subs vest thing.
Something else to talk about, and cynicism runs high in my mind in regards to that.
I found
some interesting topics to discuss.
I wanted to bring one more up as far as because the reactions from Crows fans and just how they were acting. There's people talking about wanting Houston hung and quartered, and just some terrible stuff out there. The one I found really irresponsible, and this is reporting. We don't know what happened. We did see the vision of Matthew Nicks and Ken Hinkley coming together after the game, and didn't look like the exactly most friendly conversation. And if we're to believe what Caroline Wilson reported, then Nicks was being the most pious of sanctimonious cunts, calling if Nicks actually did say to Hinkley that was a fucking dog act, then I fucking have lost all respect for Matthew Nicks, because a coach it's not like it just happened. He'd had a quarter and a half to kind of cool down from that and come to the end of the game. And even the players, as far there was jumper punching 20 seconds before the final siren went, but the players did come together as far as I saw. And
might be a window into Matthew Nix's leadership as a whole, personally.
yes, yeah, and I have no qualms of casting aspersions now because I think that's really irresponsible. Considering, I don't know if Matthew Nix walked up to Rankin himself and called him a dog after what he did to Starcevic. He probably should if he wants to not come across as a hypocrite. Otherwise, he's just being a fucking hypocritical piece of shit. And it's really unfortunate considering obviously Nix and Hinkley worked together for a few years as Nix in his younger coaching career was an assistant coach at Port.
Like 8 years? Oh, no, Nix was at Port for 8 years, sorry.
Yeah, he was. He wasn't.
Remember. He was.
Yeah, I can't. I don't know what the
Yeah,
timeline is exactly off the top of my head, but yeah, he still did work with Hinkley, and yeah, I think that's really, really concerning. And now, again, we're going on reporting. It's what Caroline Wilson, but Caroline Wilson, a lot of people have strong opinions either way on her, but she is a long-term AFL respected in some circles. She does have contact. She does have a lot of contacts within the AFL world. So it did look a little. It wasn't friendly. Nix walked away from Hinkley shaking his head, and Hinkley kind of just kept on walking.
Hinkley, it was a bit like a stereotypical kind of, I don't know, heterosexual relationship where, I know it's stereotypical. This is a stereotypical language, just kind of where the stereotypical woman's, bleeding at the man, the lazy man, and the man's just like, oh, whatever. Yeah. They just roll their eyes. Like, again, stereotypical. It's not how real relationships work. But yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like. Hinkley was just like, all right, I've said what I wanted to say. Like, I'm not going to, all right, whatever, man. Like, just be angry. Yeah, I'm just going to walk this way.
Yeah, it is. I just found that really because I saw it and thought, yeah, they're having a bit of a disagreement. But if he actually used the words "fucking dog act," then that's not. You shouldn't be using that as a coach to another coach. Like coaches should. There's a fraternity of respect there. Your eyes have just gotten quite wide as I'm talking. I'm wondering what you've just seen.
Sorry, yeah, I'm being quite disrespectful and looking at things that relate to football and what we're talking about.
Later. Yeah.
So, I mean, one thing that has finally popped up on my feed is that the tribunal hearing is not till 6:30 because fucking Lockie Ash is challenging his suspension from GWS. So
yeah.
Oh well, it'll be 6 p.m. here. David Zeta has written 6:30 p.m. VBT, which is in brackets Vic bias time.
It is one fun part about these things is David Zeta does bring in some zest and flair to the tribunal proceedings. I just to lighten off here before we get into the rest of the review. I found it really, really funny as part of this nuclear meltdown we were a part of watching the Crows fans. Suddenly Dave Granger pictures started popping up, and
the guy's dead, and it was like fucking 40 years ago or 30 years ago.
Oh no, that's not my point though. It was Port Adelaide has a history of this, and I'm sitting there going,
oh right,
so now we're the same team. So yeah, because all you established 1997 dumb
PPFC,
fucks, are now saying, Port Adelaide have been doing this for 100 years. I'm like, so which is it then?
It's a bit like the wooden spoon argument. It's exactly. Like, Crows, well done, you wooden spoon. It's like, you have 3, and it's like, okay, so we were around for 100 years.
Crows fans could really do with actually just going to school maybe at some point, which is ironic because they look at us as feral, then they're punching on with their mascot as well. Or
they need to stop sniffing their own ass and just remove their head from their fucking asses because they ain't innocent, they ain't pretty, they're everything that they say they aren't, and everything that they say other teams, particularly us, are. Like, you're just footy fans at the end of the day, and your club's built on hatred and jealousy, and you've got no soul, in my personal opinion. So that's
a personal opinion that is shared on this side of the screen too. But I just found it funny.
Listening and watching, Dave and I really don't like the Adelaide Crows Football Club, the West Lakes Football Club.
Yeah.
I'm sure, again, we're preaching to the choir here. I could really delve. I could do a whole episode. I mean, every time we catch up in person, we tend to just somehow find our way discussing our distaste and dislike for, yeah,
Yeah.
corporation.
Yeah, and they bring it on themselves, like because the reaction over the weekend, there's even guys on Twitter today saying, "Oh, the Houston one's just so much work. Like Rankin didn't deserve 4 weeks. Houston deserves more than 4 weeks." It's like, well, no, like just actually because
Exactly. That's what I was saying before.
what's
Ridiculous.
dumb is like you and I are both sitting here saying, "No, we fully expect Houston to get 4, and round 4 is kind of the mark we're at, and we're not going to complain about that because we understand this landscape we're in." But then the other side goes, "Oh no, Rankin shouldn't have got that," and it's just like, yeah, just have some objectivity to it. Like we are like we all have teal colored glasses, or the other side of the road has they whatever colored glasses they wear,
Yeah.
and
Bastardized state-colored glasses.
yeah, exactly. I was trying to think of how to say it, and that sums it up well. But you can have some objectivity. You just haven't seen that much. I found it quite funny as well because the Dave Granger picture that was used a lot was like a nice black and white picture of him swinging the arm but the closest comp picture that I saw, because a few Port fans just replied and and I actually think Mark Bickley is a nice bloke. Like he just had a moment of insanity in that moment with Darryl Wakeland when he fucking broke
and he has come out many, many times to say that he wishes that he didn't do it, and other
exactly
things to that effect too. So,
which
is funny. Again, you throw stones in glass houses, like all this shit's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I heard, oh my God, it was just relaying memories. I heard that like apparently the whole stadium of Port supporters at Footy Park were booing Trent Henschel when Matt Thomas broke his leg. And I'm like, you got to be fun. I actually a Crow supported I was like a young teenager and a fucking middle-aged Crow supporter, man, fucking wanted to box on with me. So again, we all have our stories, but yeah, it's just some of the ridiculous recounting of history and fucking just made up recounting of history. Just boggles the mind when this shit happens.
And again, it falls back to the fact that it is easy for them to stereotype us without realizing just what a diverse and far more diverse fan base that we have. Like just between our history as a club, Port Adelaide, its history as a place is one of the most diverse areas of Port Adelaide because it had to be a melting pot because of its history and connection to the city. So it's just funny to see just the way that. That's really to end off on this. Just the frustration as a Port fan, seeing that kind of us win a showdown, but then have to deal with all this just because of an incident that happened within the game. That was a footy incident, and that's the end of the day.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, we reiterate we want
if that. Yeah. If the AFL don't want it in the game, they will outlaw it.
Yeah,
but they're too gutless to. So we'll get situations like this. Excuse me, continually pop up.
Yeah, and fans have to actually accept that sometimes these things are going to happen because otherwise, not that I'm against changing the game as much as possible to make it safe, but at some point you've actually got to sit there and say, and the NFL in America has had to contend with this at times, and they've kind of figured it out a little bit and changed the way the game, and they continually tweak rules, but they still kind of hold the heart of the game. But at a certain point, you tweak rules so much, it doesn't become the game it is anymore. So it's either what you actually have to sit there and actually have a long, hard chat with yourself and say, what do I want the AFL footy to be? And if I don't want it to be, if I want it to remain the game it somewhat is, then you have to accept that sometimes a footy incident will happen that will sometimes result in a serious injury. That's just what it's the same with ACLs and all those things that can happen are going to happen at times, and sometimes will happen from a dirty act. But the concussion is just the one that people have really, it's become a taboo really to in the AFL. So yeah, we've spent a fair bit of time on that, and it deserved the time because it was unfortunately the main story out of the game. But yeah, we'll get back to some. I don't know if you've got any closing thoughts on that, go for it. But otherwise, we can get back to the fun parts of it.
The last thing that I would say is I'm a sport fan. I play sport. I have played many sports. I'm all for targeting opposition teams' best players.
That is
You
a
know,
good
I
thing to bring
obviously
up, actually. Yeah.
I'm a big cricket fan. You know, obviously grown up in watching Steve Waugh captain era, Ricky Ponting, and you know, a big thing in cricket, obviously a very, very, very different sport. But going after the other team's captain is generally a batsman. It's typically one of the go-to strategies for a team. Footballers, we've even just drawing it right back to Port Adelaide. You know, Zach Butters has been fairly targeted for a while in the second half of this season. Luckily, he's had a bit of respite recently.
Mhm.
I'm all for it. Like, assuming that no one's getting punched off the ball and hit behind play and stuff like that. But
Yeah, like
I am 100% for targeting and trying to get in the mind of the opposition best player, because whoever controlled their emotions better after or whatnot, that's what can happen. Even if he was still on the ground and we quelled his influence, it just went to show that they rely far too heavily on him when he's playing. Therefore, and look, DBJ came out and said that it didn't happen. That's probably just lip service to kind of cool the situation down a little bit.
Well, I think what DBJ, just to interject for a second, he was just saying we're not targeting to hurt him. It's
and I think he was.
That's what he meant. It's
very conscious to frame it that way. Yeah,
because it is a tale as all the time in the AFL. Tags is a thing that we talk about weekly. The attention Tom Stewart got after, obviously Jed McEntee's close. It's close checking of a player. It happens in soccer.
Yeah.
It happens.
We've been lauded for.
It happens in the NBA.
In a few examples.
Yeah.
Now we targeted someone and it's too far. And
Rankin was engaging just as much back. So, and this is good. This does get us back on track to the game, because I think it was because everyone's just like, Rankin going out of the game changed the game. It didn't change the game for Rankin, because everyone's talking about him being their best player. He'd had 8 touches to halfway through the third quarter. He didn't have an impact. He kicked a couple of goals, one of them from a free kick from a situation that they shouldn't have had one. But so he'd had a little impact. But when he went off, I actually, obviously, there's a lot of crazy things going on. But I remember sitting there thinking, and I actually went and had a look at that moment where he was at, because I was like, I've just realized he hasn't been as worrisome. And I noticed earlier on, there was one moment where the ball goes over the boundary line. And by the way, love Travis Boak's game in this one. Boak got just after some of the close checking. And again, the targeting, whatever, if you think targeting as a hurtful thing, no, we weren't doing that. And anyone that thinks that was what's going on, to quote a Crows fan that's losing his mind on Twitter currently, you've got rocks in your head. That wasn't happening. We were close checking the opposition's best player, whether it wasn't a hard tag exactly. It was just close attention to him, which happens all the time. We cop it. Butters, it was talked about weeks ago with Jason Horne-Francis getting a little bit of attention and jumper punching and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Did you and I get on this podcast and start complaining about, Jason Horne-Francis, poor JHF? We said, he needs to make sure he manages his emotions, and the club needs to figure out how to, and again with the Butters tag as well, flip some magnets, work it out, get creative, and figure out how to break tags and disrupt tags. We didn't cry and moan about the attention they were getting. We said, this is footy. We need to figure this out. That's what talented players and good coaching does. We figure it out, and so far, knock on wood, we've figured it out the last month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it's been now. Yeah, it's ridiculous to because I have no problem saying, we had close attention on Isaac Rankin. That's called respect. That's respecting that's your best player, and we're going to try and disrupt everything he can do. I quite respect Isaac Rankin as a player. I think he's watching him this year because I've watched a few. I just whenever a Crows game's on, I watch him, and I'll admit I'm watching because I have 2 favorite teams, Port Adelaide and any team that's playing the Adelaide Crows. Like I watch them, if they're on it, it's a good time. Or watch them and hope they lose for a little bit of Schadenfreude. That's called a rivalry.
Schadenfreude to the max.
Yeah, that's a rivalry. But watching him often, he's been quite important to them when he's playing his best. Obviously, he had the hamstring injury out, and then he had his 4 weeks out for what I'll just let Matthew Nix use his words for what he did to Starcevic, because I think that was quite a nasty act off the ball. Again, but Rankin wasn't Rankin was trying to check him off the ball and it ended up in a concussion. So that, again, he wasn't. Rankin wasn't intending to hurt him that badly. It's just that happened, but it was off the ball.
That's what happened. And he actually did get him home.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we had good tactics in this game overall, I think, for how we handled because we clearly recognised him as the key player for them. Jordan Dawson's fantastic, and he's been a damaging player, and Jordan Dawson had a really good game. But
I thought he was the only one who kind of kept his cool after the incident happened.
Yeah, because
funnily enough, I think he ended up their best-rated player.
He did, yeah. He did, yeah. He had the most touches, and I think, as far as his ranking points or whatever goes, he was.
But professional sport is widely acknowledged to be just as much of a psychological game as it is a physical game. It's just as much a mental battle as it is a physical battle. I understand that as a weekend warrior who plays D-grade cricket sometimes in the summer. Like, and again, like even at amateur level, like sport is the better team mentally prepared is, generally going to be more successful. Like So as a big sports fan, to echo your thoughts in regards to some of the attention our players got, I welcome it. And I'm all for it on both sides. And it's interesting then how players work through that. But to say that, to infer that we tried to take him out as such is just, it's just ridiculous. Something else that I forgot to bring up earlier was that I don't think the umpires had a great control of the game. As good of a game as it was, the umpires were just all over the place from the word go.
Those two marks they missed early in the game, like I think in my notes.
Yeah,
I think I had.
I
that was a mark to Rosie, and then
before,
This
is all. Those two marks are within the first 5 minutes of gameplay or 6 minutes of gameplay. So you had Rosie mark not paid, Bergman mark. The Rosie mark, not only was it not paid, the umpire within a 52,000 strong crowd expected Connor, who has his back turned to him, to hear him say play on, and then he pays holding the ball, which again is a lottery in that instance across the year. Bergman's mark not long after, which got turned over. JHF was being held continuously, particularly in the first half. 2 score reviews that didn't need to be had. So this is, the tensions building. Nankervis was caught holding the ball in our forward line. I think Asava Radically tackled him. This is within the first 10 minutes of the game. So tensions are already running high. I don't care what anyone says. Even as a professional footballer, that's pissing you off. I just thought, I thought they lacked control and perhaps maybe a small portion of things that unfolded for the rest of the night. Not even just particularly the major incident, just everything. I thought they had
a butterfly effect.
They kind of got deer in the headlights on the occasion that is the showdown a little bit.
Yeah, because you see it in to liken it to the Merseyside derby between Liverpool and Everton. They often talk about the refereeing has to be really on point in the first 20, 25 minutes, even if it's a little bit. If the action's a little bit hot and it's another game where you could give a yellow card here and there, just talk to them a little bit and try to calm it down. Don't miss calls all over the place. Don't lose control of the game. Don't let players start, jabbing at you. But yeah, when you let the crowd noise get into your heads and you start making decisions that are inconsistent all over the place, if you lose control early, that's when you're going to get that studs up red card later on in the game, which ironically you're talking about. And again, it doesn't mean it's the absolute, causation of it, but losing control of a game early can make it just quite crazy later on. And it certainly felt straight off the bat that there just wasn't control there. And it was ironic that it was Razor Ray, which good luck in retirement. Not going to miss you. But yeah, it's just so funny seeing Crows fans talking about Ken Hinkley being respectful and giving him a hug after the game and oh yeah, that's proof he paid him off. And I'm like, Good God. But yeah, it was funny. Yeah, they after that fracas, there was like him just yelling at Matthew Crouch, who just completely lost his shit. Which, by the way, Matt Crouch is about 2 inches away from breaking Travis Boak's jaw. In that fracas, I just love Boak in that moment, like flying the flag. But yeah, the Crouch was throwing a hard elbow there that would have, if it connected, there's damage happening. Again,
Yeah, he's very lucky because it was a wild swing
Yeah.
across, into the air ultimately. And thankfully.
Rashudo's commentary, like, "Oh, Crouchy, watch out!" Even Rashudo, when the incident happened, was just like Jose Mourinho, just like, "If I speak," like,
yeah. It's funny you bring up Rashudo. I like while I was at the game, and then before I was able to watch the replay, obviously saw a lot of negative feedback, obviously from a lot of Port supporters. And I actually, after watching the game, I actually thought he was pretty well balanced, to be honest.
As the game went on, he actually
Yeah.
kind of tried to temper some of the Houston stuff. I got annoyed because he had a shit-eating grin at halftime when they're up by 9 points. Like that was just like a personal thing. I was just like, I don't want to see your face when
And
you're
I
up
took
by.
that personally.
Yeah, but yeah, during when the incident happened and everything, he actually, and then I saw Crows fans just being like, "Get him out of our club already. He might as well be on the port board." And I'm like, God, you guys are fucking nuts.
Well, I mean, he has to leave at the end of this
Yeah,
year.
exactly.
He's
Yeah.
10 years up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, be careful what you wish for.
Imagine.
He did wear the prison bars in his junior days out at Waikerie.
Yeah, it's a famous jersey everywhere. Anyway, yeah, it was great. I'm glad you brought up the close checking part of it because I did have that in my notes and just with everything we're talking about. But that was, a very good tactic by us and helped us quell his influence because it is. Everyone keeps saying the best player went out of the game, but as I said, he had 8 touches to the point that he went off the field, which is almost halfway through the third quarter. You'd be expecting a good Isaac Rankin game. He's at least at 15 touches, if not more. So yeah, he wasn't having the influence he usually would because we put attention on him. And again, that is totally fine to do in a professional Australian football game. It is totally fine to have close checking on a good player from the opposition team because we cop it all the time. Did you have anything else before we get to segments and all that stuff? Because I know a lot of stuff as far as some positives are going to come up as we get through that.
There was just one last thing, which was a really wholesome moment before the game. And I wish there was some vision of it because it probably would be my Sweeney. But Jay Schultz was obviously the first goal kicker on the day to open proceedings at the ground. And Jared Walsh, the Power MC, obviously interviewed him. And
Really good
Jay
bloke.
Schultz took the time to say that, like, when he retired, his last game was against Gold Coast away. So he never actually got the chance to say goodbye properly to the fans.
Yeah.
So he took a moment there to just say thank you to everyone and just basically said like it's his time at Port Adelaide and more particularly at the Adelaide Oval was some of the best times of his life. And it was just it was a really great moment. Obviously, they interview all the first goal kickers, and it's a bit of an infrequent occasion nowadays, like this year. But I loved it. He obviously got a rousing, I've lost the word, but a lot of applause and a lot of adoration by the crowd that were there. And because it was a showdown, there was a lot of people there early, obviously because the SANFL showdown was beforehand too. So there was a lot of people already in the grounds for when he was there. And yeah, I thought it was fantastic. It really made me happy. And because I'd forgotten about that. I just assumed that like we all obviously would have been able to I can't even remember it, but I just assumed that we would have been able to say see you to Schultz in his final games for Port Adelaide. But yeah, he obviously announced his retirement after our last home game and never got to say a proper goodbye. And he took the moment then, which was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. Yeah, no, I hadn't heard that. And I'd seen some, phone footage of him doing his kick and whatever. And obviously heard the dulcet tones of the great Jared Walsh in those moments. But yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that interview, so that's really cool to hear. And yeah, he's obviously he's on Twitter and often he's still got a good love for the club because he's throughout the season he was just pop up posts like up the pair or whatever when we've had a good win. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and it just makes you kind of realize again when you sit back and look at everything, like there's a large group of Port Adelaide fans who would potentially try and make you believe that he's kind of been ostracized from the club when some of his, those moments where he's cheering on the club and some of the comments that he makes probably suggest the complete opposite of that. Just things haven't worked out the way that some fans would want them to in a perfect world. But yeah, clearly from those interactions on social media and then from what he was saying from the horse's mouth on Saturday night, it just goes to show that it's not exactly the case. And he still has a lot of love for the club. He had like a whole bay dedicated to him in his heyday at Adelaide Oval. So loved it. I love Jay Schultz. I thought, especially in our darker days before Ken Hinkley came on, he was definitely a huge shining light for our team, uncompromising player. And so loved his career at Port Adelaide and loved the sentiments that he was vocalizing on the night.
Yeah, and then his best couple of years were those years that we really hit the heights. In those early Ken Hinkley years, he was right. He was a perfect fit for that system. So that's really cool to hear. I like that. That's you said it's not going to be a Sweeney, but it's a good woman. It's probably the ultimate woman fuzzy for this episode.
It's a good way to cap off a situation. Funnily enough, it was before everything unfolded.
But
just wanted to finish on that one.
Yeah. All right. We can get into Spotlight now, which again, we're not doing watch list this week. We're just doing Spotlight because positive vibes, especially after we've just spent, 40 minutes talking about some of the nasty stuff of the night, unfortunately. So Spotlight, and you get to go first on this one. So it'll be interesting to see if you've got mine because I actually didn't think to write another one, but I'd find one. So, but I'll let you go first and see where you're at.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. One of those nights where the votes was pretty tough. And there's a few guys who I don't feel great you leaving them out of the votes, but so that's why I'm bringing up Jace Burgoyne in the spotlight because I thought he played a fantastic game, a pretty well 4-quarter effort. He finished with 22 disposals. What was it? 6 of them were contested, and he went at just under 82%. There was 370 meters gained. Sorry to do this on the fly. 25 pressure acts was another thing that I saw earlier today. 7 marks as well, but 25 pressure acts was up there in the top tier for Port Adelaide. You're right. It was second on the night for Port Adelaide. So, I thought his game all around. He finished with that one. Fortunate goal. He probably should have had a couple on the night.
How good was the celly though?
He loved it. He loved getting around the fans and again his arms out.
Aesthetically pleasing watching a Burgoyne, big smile, celebrating a goal, arms out with the prison bars on, just fucking
your socks up.
Look it to my veins.
Absolutely. I had a couple people written down, but he was the first one I had written down because, I just wanted to give him some love. He had a great game and he got some credit by Jared Healy in the commentary as well.
Jared Healy, who, by the way, I just want to bring this up as just a funny thing because I didn't have it in my notes, but you've just reminded me. He called Jordan Sweet street a few times, and I don't know if you heard that when you're watching the replay.
I don't think I heard that.
He just, I don't know if it was whether it was just an enunciation issue, but he called it he said street a couple of times, and at the end of the game, he was giving Jordan Sweet some credit, and he said Street's really making a name for himself, which I cracked up at because I was just like, there's some
Victorian slurring, maybe.
Yeah. Well, just some incredible irony in saying this person's making a name for themselves and you're not even getting the name right. But,
Yeah.
um,
Sorry to hang shit on Victorians, our lovely
yeah.
Victorian.
And-
Stu and Jess, sorry. And
Yeah.
everyone else listening from Victoria. I don't mean it.
I
don't
think
mean it.
I assume, and thank you, Stu. And yeah, Stu's a Patreon member as well, so thank you. But I think Victorian Port fans know as well sometimes. But yeah, Jared Healy, I actually quite enjoy his commentary. I just thought it was quite funny. Just a funny mistake to make when you're making that exact statement about a name.
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
paying credit to someone who can't get the name right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's your spotlight?
I'm going. I went a little bit left field. Jace Burgoyne's one that
Love that.
I had Jace Burgoyne's one I had as an honorable mention for my votes because I tried to get him in, just didn't quite happen. But yeah, going left field. Esava Radaglia only had 7 disposals, but I think he was so important to our forward 50 pressure. He had 6 tackles, which is one of the leaders on our team. He had 13 pressure acts, which I think is top 10 or 12 in the team. Just contributed to contests that brought ball to ground in a obviously a game that wasn't really great for tall forwards. Charlie Dixon, I think Charlie Dixon's I think had a good game as far as his tap work and being the chop out in the ruck, and again contributing to contests. But I thought Radaglia was really one thing I've been impressed with since Radaglia has gone forward is his forward pressure, his tackling, his athletic ability to get to contests and make exact tackles and all that stuff. I had to give it to him. I was just like, yeah, he had an impact that when I looked at the stats and saw how low he was on the list, I was just like, I noticed him.
I was surprised too.
Yeah, I noticed him so much. And I think that's just down to the pressure acts. And as we talked about, the pressure on the pressure rating and all that stuff was really important to our win. I think Radaglia's role in that, and as far as our forward half, was really important. And it just shows some of those defensive attributes he's got that while it hasn't worked out for him in the defensive half, if he can figure out his goal kicking, and again, I think his role in that forward line is really interesting now because this game he doesn't kick a goal, doesn't really take it.
Did he even have a shot on goal?
No, I don't think he did, and I don't think he even had.
I can't remember him. I don't think Dixon even had a shot on goal.
I don't think either of them did. I'm just looking at. I'm just trying to look down to see if he actually even took a mark. Where's Radaglia? Yeah, Radaglia. I did take 2 marks, but yeah, you'd be expecting him in a decent game. Dixon had actually 15 disposals and 6 marks, but yeah, neither of them have.
He had 2 goal assists too.
Yeah,
Charlie
neither
Dixon,
of them have.
Yeah,
Neither of them have a
Sidestep
behind.
Asava.
No, neither of them have a behind on there, so I don't remember him missing any out on the full or anything like that. So yeah, a really interesting game for our forward line structure to actually score. It was still a lower scoring game, but we still scored 80 points. Somewhat missed a couple of chances from other players that maybe they would have liked to get. So we had a reasonable score for what the conditions were and being a tight showdown contest. And none of our tall forwards got involved in that. So but they got involved in a different way, and that's why I had to spotlight Asava because I was really.
I don't think they got beaten, which was the more important point. And I love that spotlight because Asava was the second person I had written down.
Nice, there we go.
You mentioned he had 6 tackles, and 4 of those were inside 50, which just goes off the back of your comments in regards to forward pressure. I thought he was very, very, very unlucky not to get a few. At least one fucking holding the man free kick. I thought,
yes, yeah.
He's obviously taking a leaf out of the Hawkins and Charlie Dixon book of initiating a bit of contact with their defender.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do that. That's
that's forward craft.
When the defender's starting to hold your arm, that's not legal. It's not supposed to be okay. So yeah, it's goes off the back of what you said. We saw him a lot because the ball was around him a lot, but he didn't get possession. Because he was either being held or bringing it to ground, kind of by Zion as well in some of those plays. And yeah, I was really happy with ultimately the role that he had to play on the night. It wasn't fashionable or anything like that. And again, just the dynamic of our team now in showdowns gone past, his opponent would be eyes on Dixon along with Dixon's direct opponent. Whereas now opposition defenses just have no choice whatsoever but to spread their defense. Whether Sava's goal kicking is good or not, you can't let him have a shot.
Exactly.
You can't take that risk. Yeah.
As we've said in recent,
can't hack a shack him.
Yeah.
In football, when a major scoring opportunity is worth 6 points, teams can't let that happen. So you have to be accountable for him. And I thought some of the Crows defenders were too accountable, and he was very, like I said, very unlucky not to get a bit of reward. Probably again going off the back of our comments in regards to the umpires not really having a good handle on the game.
Yeah, I thought it was there was some moment they just didn't have the handle on the fact it was a wet weather game, I think, as well. They just didn't understand. I think you've got to there's adjudication that happens depending on conditions. That's a good couple of spotlights. I like that, especially as I said, Jace Bergen was someone I was trying to get into my votes. He hasn't gotten in there, I'm glad you brought him up there. All right, before we get into the awards, we'll go over last week's winners. Goal of the week, Butters burning Clary on that running goal with a couple of bounces, won with about 75% of the vote. So not like there was a few the other way, but he's won that one. And the Sweeney was very close, one vote separating, but Rosie's tackle to get Keziah Pickett holding the ball at the start of the fourth quarter against Melbourne to kind of spark that fourth quarter run.
Clean sweep for you then.
It was. I didn't actually think about that. Well, I think I keep forgetting because the Darcy Byrne-Jones goal was the one you nominated, and that's what I was going. I think if I'd gone for, either way, it was an interesting vote. It wasn't the Butters one did win with 75%, but there was a fair few votes for DBJ as well, so it was good. And then, like I said, it was only one vote separating Rosie from your Sweeney pick last week, which I'm blanking on what it was. Oh, it was the Butters inboard kick.
Yes.
So it was again some good appreciation for that part of the game on your Sweeney pick as well. So it was very close. I was almost thinking I was going to have to use my tiebreaker, but
your golden vote.
Yeah, exactly. This week goal of the week, and I get to go first, which I'm so happy for because there was a couple of good goals, and both of the ones I have on my list, but the fact I get to go first, I can't go past Jason Horne-Francis getting onto his left in the second quarter.
That was razor with the ups. Right. Yep. Just always got plenty to say. Is Horne-Francis off the left. Incredible!
He just lets him go, and then just a quick whack to the outside. That is a magnificent hit out to advantage, and eventually if you keep on losing hit outs, you are going to stoppages, it's going to tell on the scoreboard eventually. And that time it was Rankin v Jason Horne-Francis, and he gets the big smile.
And it's such an incredible, I love the fact that you see that he's on his left and it's a little bit more ungainly, but the fact he really works his way into position to hook his left foot around it, knowing it's his weaker foot, and still just generates so much drive to get that ball comfortably through the posts.
I think what the vision doesn't show, sorry to cut in,
go for it. I could
see it where I was sitting, was he actually wanted to look for an option inboard, but it just wasn't on. So, he ultimately threw caution to the wind on his wrong foot.
Yeah, and just anytime I try to kick with my left, goes 10 meters. I've never put that much time into it. So it's obviously I'm not a professional football player, so I haven't had the need to, but I'm just so one-footed, whether it be if I'm having a kick around with soccer or whether it be footy or whatever it is. I'm very, very one-sided with kicks. So
you got to really think about it. That's when you kick on your own side, you just really what's the mechanics here?
Yeah, and that's what's funny is you see when he angles for that one, he does think about it. He does put a little bit more time into it, but the fact he still can do all that in motion and put a very good solid kick in and drive it through comfortably for a really big goal and a good momentum shifting goal, and it's in a tight game just to take those moments again. Horne-Francis, we've just seen him so much this year, having just any time a moment presents itself. He missed a goal on the night, but he still ended up with 2 goals, 1, and still one of 4 or 5 players in the competition averaging 20 disposals and a goal a game. So, yeah, he's very important and was, again, very important on the night, and it was a beautiful goal.
Absolutely, yeah, fucking oath. Yeah, loved that one, live or otherwise. So
the 50 times you've watched it since.
Oh yeah, it was just.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch a replay with commentary directly after it happened, but obviously you can't do that. So yeah, I'm gonna target the heartstrings with mine, hopefully, and go with Travis Boak's goal, also in the second quarter.
Quarter time, we weren't disappointed. And it's low scoring, but she's a ripper.
The pressure is red hot, and it's Boak, who's played in more showdowns than anyone else, who lifts his side with a cracking goal.
For the season. Let's have a look at what happened here. Nankervis just put him under pressure with a poor kick, then put himself under pressure. One step, bang, make him pay.
Said this before, I reckon Nankervis tries to take on too many tackles at times. He's not quite strong enough to break them.
Just capped off a decent piece of scrappy play where it just kept the ball in the contest, kept the ball alive, and Boak did the work and put it on the boot to curl it in. So yeah, good second quarter, because that first half was pretty tight, and like I said before, both sides would have probably been feeling like they left a few goal opportunities on the table. So yeah, both your nomination and mine both coming at important times. What was it? The JHF was at the start of the second, and Boak's was about halfway through. So, yeah.
It was a little bit of a back and forth quarter. Yeah.
Well, and much like Boakie's form, his goal kicking is just being sprinkled along. Like, he's obviously he's not kicking 15 straight after kicking 15 behind straight, but he's at least contributing now with some goals every kind of couple of weeks, which is good.
Yeah. And it was some really good work, because I think they came off a Crows kick in that they slightly undercooked, and Willie Rioli, who was quiet throughout that first half a bit, but he put the pressure on the player, whoever it was that was receiving the kick, to get it to kind of spill out for Boak to be able to. So it was, again, another moment of forward pressure as well, which is, again, a key to the win.
Absolutely.
So two very good goals. That was the second one on my list, by the way. So I think that was the
cool.
The clear two front runners. Could have. You go ahead.
Mention to DBJ's goal on the left in the third quarter. I appreciated that one similarly to Jason Francis, because it was on the wrong foot again. And honorable mention to DBJ's game too. When you think he's maybe falling into a lull, he just he comes back well and contributes in his role.
Again, he's finishing on the run. I think he's had some wayward weeks, but he certainly started the year hot that way. And he generally, when he gets clear in front, I have fairly good trust in him. I'm not like I'm not like cringing.
He
had
2 goal assists too, just on DBJ. So.
Yeah, he does play. It is often underrated in his role up there. And there's some weeks he's a bit too quiet, but I think when the forward line structure is humming is when DPJ is better. So, even without it, it's obviously a good note to note that we've been able to get through the last couple of weeks without Mitch Georgiades, which I know we were all a little bit worried about. So, the Sweeney, good week for Sweeney's. I know I've got a clear top couple, but I'll be interested to see. You get to go first on this one, so I'll be interested to see where you go on yours before I go for mine.
This one I actually missed at first in my first kind of watch of the game. But I'm gonna go Miles Bergman again, maybe because I haven't been able to fit him in my votes, and he probably deserves a vote, but Miles Bergman late in the first quarter, again, nice and tight, the scoreline. The Crows were out in their forward 50, and Ben Keys gained possession of the ball fairly close to the goal square. And, on any other day, Keys may have broken the tackle and curled around to push their lead even further, because they were leading at quarter time by a couple of points, weren't they?
Yeah, I
'cause
believe
we got
so.
in front, and then they'd got a goal back, and then that would have been another goal, I think,
Yes.
to push their lead out a bit further. But Bergman just says, no, no, no,
Mm,
not in my
yeah.
paint. And just
Dikembe Mutombo,
yeah, Mutombo. Yeah.
Rochelle cops the booze again, but it's a great kick out the back. Keys waiting to accept, but he's wrapped up magnificently by Bergman. Gallant, he's now fighting for it. Soccer's off the ground. Numbers down, scraps on. Keys trying to throw a boot at it.
Danger.
Alia's down there. Haven't seen it paid. Bergman wants to score a try over the line, but it's on.
Defence by Port Adelaide.
Well done, Port Adelaide. That is unbelievable. That looked like a certain goal.
100%.
Really good tackling.
Yeah, he just doesn't let it happen. Just grips on him. Keys can't shake the tackle, and ultimately it ends in a stoppage, and they don't get the goal that they probably thought was absolutely going to happen. So yeah, that's it for mine.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And I had that. I didn't actually have that in my Sweeney shortlist because I'd forgotten about it. But as soon as you mentioned it, I scrolled up to my notes. I was like, I swear I've noted it, and it's in my notes from live watching.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
I've just got great defensive effort about the 2-minute mark, and that was from that because that was one of those ones that earlier in the year is we almost, or in whenever we've been at a lull this year, and certainly with some of those areas where we've talked about with players in bad positioning in the defensive half, we're giving up a goal straight away on that one.
Yeah.
But we've seen a lot of instances of better defensive efforts and just ability to close down space, or just where players are positioned, they're able to be in position to make a play on it. And that was a goal-saving move, which is in a tight game as it was right up until the end of the game when we broke free with a couple of late ones. It was it was a tight game. So those are really, really important plays, and really, really happy with that one as a pick. I had a couple of honourable mentions. I have to say, my Sweeney I'm going to pick is going to be a bit of left field and might be a little bit of low-hanging fruit, but I will give honourable mention Willem Drew, which we love to give some love to on this podcast anytime we get the chance.
Yeah, I would echo that honourable mention too.
Yeah. His tackle on Rankin in the first quarter just kind of climbed over his back and just took him down, but completely legally, and got him holding the ball. And it was an early shot at how targeted he was, because I think immediately in the after, as Willem took him down,
does Butters come in? Is that one?
I think
they really make sure
Butters comes in, and I think Jordan Sweet does too. There's like three players on top of him. Loved it. So that's an honorable mention. But I have to, just having watched as an NBA fan, I'm a Portland Trailblazers fan, so I've spent years hating Steph Curry in a respectful way, but he's often been the nemesis for. I did get to watch before the weekend. Andrea and I got married. We got married in Portland. The Blazers, the Warriors played the Blazers in Portland, and it was in the season they won 73 games, so they only lost 9 games during the regular season.
Yeah, wow.
We got to see one of those losses. It was Damian Lillard's first 50-point game, and I was hammered drunk.
Did Seth Curry play for the Trailblazers, or am I making that up?
Seth Curry did, yeah, his brother.
I thought his brother did.
Yeah. He was quite handy for us. I would have liked us to keep him for a little bit longer, but he's contracts and whatnot. But anyway, I've had a love-hate relationship with Steph Curry, so I enjoyed watching the Olympics and actually getting to root for him and watching him get to team up with LeBron and all that stuff and do the night to France. So I have to pick Willie Rioli doing the Steph Curry little night and the little wave to the Crows fans.
I think he was doing the chatterbox.
He was doing that.
Yeah,
He did that sleep. And then went straight to that. Yeah, it's in one. It's in one motion, and
and he bangs through yet another goal. He says goodbye to the Crows as he tries to put them to sleep.
And by the way, to all the Crows fans getting there to pearl clutching little fucking fuckheads about him flipping the bird, just
don't be racist.
I mean, he's probably exactly.
Well,
that.
and just on that note, now you can put the whole banana throwing fucking incident to bed. Like with that fucking bitch who threw the banana on the field.
Yeah, which is
when Eddie Betts was training. Again, one fucking idiot that no one agrees with, or whatever word you want to use. But yeah, now it's
because
even if you want to call it that. It shouldn't be about even and point scoring and whatnot. It's fucking terrible. Racism is stupid and fucking outdated and ridiculous. So yeah, you can't say anything. Perfect example of your own imperfections as a fan base. I guess you could say, yeah, if you want to amplify it.
Yeah, we have our bad ones. You have your bad ones. It is, but yeah, you can't sit there and claim a moral high ground ever, because we know that this stuff happens on both sides.
So,
and
don't be racist, and he won't flip you the bird. As that.
Exactly. But yeah, even just the flipping the bird thing, I'm just like, it's a showdown. Like, and flipping the bird is just so it's so PG.
A bit of license.
It's so fucking it's so fucking PG. Yeah. I'm like, objectively, the more crowd inciting thing that is going to get a crowd actually wanting to get a little nuts is what Josh Riccelli did. Like, that's actually targeted abuse. If you want to go down that road, like, I'm not going down that road, but if you want to get fucking into it, because some Crows fans want to do that, it's dumb.
We can all be petty. We can all bring up skeletons in the closet. So I obviously had Rioli's Night Night Selly written down as a nomination. He did have a tough night. Then when he kicked, he got that goal early in the fourth. Just love the passion that he displays. Like, again, give me guys who give a fuck. Put that on a shirt, Dave.
I know. I actually, it's a couple of weeks in a row that's come up. Yeah,
because I don't know. Like, again, JHF trade, he obviously gets forgotten, and he's won a premiership at another club, and I don't think Port Adelaide was a club that he grew up supporting or had any real connection to before he came here or anything, but just total buy-in. Just loves it and is happy to put it all out there when he knows he's going all right, or even if he hasn't gone all right, but he knows he's made an impact. Just love that passion.
Yeah. And he pops up at the right time, because sometimes we've talked about with some of our tools that sometimes you got to work your way through a contest and wear down your opposition. And he was getting a pretty good hard contest with, I think it was Hugh Bond, the young Crows player, that had a decent game on him. But just wait for your opportunity, because in a tight game, your opportunity is going to come, and just getting a crumb over the back.
Much like a final.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've talked about, I think, in doing our 2004 series, and we'll get into it more, but, Treadray kicked a lot of goals during the minor round, didn't kick as many in the finals, but he was ever present as we talked about it.
Just had to wait for it. Yeah.
Episode dropping later this week, we talk about the qualifying final and Treadray's decoy role that he played in just taking attention from some Geelong defenders in that 2004 qualifying final. But then he popped up and kicked a couple of nice goals in the fourth quarter. Yeah. And it's kind of felt like, Rioli was doing a lot of hard work in that forward line without much reward. But again, he put on the pressure that ended up in that Boak goal that you nominated in the goal of the week. And it's sometimes just waiting for your opportunity. And in a game that was ultimately decided by 22 points, those two goals in the last quarter were still very, very important. One classic small forward crumb over the back, little snap through the goals, and then taking a good leading mark and converting a set shot from, not the most difficult set shot, but not the most easiest. It's one of those 35, 40 meter ones that on a slight angle that players miss fairly often. So yeah, he took his chances perfectly, which is really, really important. I think that brings us to our Player of the Year votes, doesn't it? Which
certainly does. Yeah, we're going to have no time for a preview here.
We'll get to I might try. Yeah, we'll get to.
But because we're going to have to sit and show love to all of these players that are coming.
Yeah, I think we'll get 15, 20 minutes on the Freo game, and that'll be fine, I think. But my one vote. Obviously no. This was very tough this week, but my one vote goes to someone I think you mentioned you couldn't quite get in there. But I was dicing between Jace Burgoyne and Miles Bergman, who I end up giving the one vote to. Miles Bergman, that is. Just as we touched on earlier, he's just makes himself known, present in the game. You notice him often. He had 15 touches. 8 of those were contested. He took 6 marks, 2 contested marks, which I think was second most in the game to, I can't remember who took the most. I think 3 contested marks to someone else in the game. But His touches, he went at 80% disposal efficiency in a game that there wasn't a high level of disposal efficiency because of, due to the nature of the game. It was wet weather and whatnot.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, it was a very low efficiency game,
yeah.
wasn't it?
8 intercept possessions, and he had 5 1%ers in there as well. He was just I could have picked, Aliir as well. There was a few players I was dicing between in that one vote spot, but I thought Miles Bergman was just someone I noticed so much in the night, so I had to give him some love there. 2 votes, I've got Connor Rozee, which, geez, it's tough, but there's a lot of performances in this midfield group that deserve some love, and his just fell down to the 2 vote spot, but a real great captain's performance. He had 28 touches, 5 tackles, the 9 clearances, 8 inside 50s, 669 meters gained,
silly.
five score involvements. But most important to me was he flew the flag, a true, like the captain of the Port Adelaide Football Club with the prison bar Guernsey on, the pylons with the number 1 on the back. That picture I put up on Instagram today with his arms. I am
nice.
Even my wife the other day, I think she saw that, but she's just scrolling through and she just goes, I didn't realize Connor Rozee had built out that well over the last couple of years. And I was like, yeah, he's
very lean.
Yeah, his upper body.
He's so hot right now.
Yeah. That kind of Rozee is so hot right now. He was he just had a captain's game in the prison bars, which I really appreciate, and it felt like a kind of coming of age captain's game, even though but he has had some criticism, unwarranted as it is over the year. I think this is one of those games that some Port fans that might be on the fence about his captaincy. We're not certainly those people, but I think this might be one of those performances that helps solidify his validity to those that hadn't quite gotten there yet, which they should. But a really good game for him. My 3 votes, Jason Horne-Francis, who I was just talking about who had the most contested marks. It's Jason Horne-Francis. It's in my notes there.
Yeah,
he had the 3. Couple of big goals, obviously, that we talked about. 8 clearances, 6 inside 50, 7 score involvements. Just again, one of those games, lighter on in the touches over the other players I've got here, but he again, his presence is felt. He's just he makes the opposition so accountable, have to be accountable for him.
Yeah,
and he's after that little mid-season period where he's getting a little bit of attention and struggling to find his way into a game. He's really been finding his way in, and the coaching I think has helped. They've been figuring it out with a lot of these players, like Butters included, and all those guys. But yeah,
it's a long season, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah,
it goes to show.
Exactly. That's a really great point that you figure these things out throughout the season and try to get to the point that you are now, going towards finals and having it more or less. Again, we don't know what things are going to get thrown at us going forward, but they've figured out a lot of things and figured out how to be a little bit more flexible, and Horne-Francis is certainly benefiting from that. And he had in a game that again was lower scoring. We did end up with a decent score, but he popped up with a couple of goals, and again, his finishing is pretty good. He missed one set shot, but he finished off a couple of others. So again, just love Horne-Francis. Just I think might be my favorite player at this point. I just love watching him go about it. And a lot of people are bringing up the Russell Ebert comparisons over the last year or so, and it's hard to deny it sometimes watching him go about it. My 4 votes, Ollie Wines again, 26 touches, 14 contested, and he went at 73%. We talk about time and time again this year. He's often just so much better with the ball than his reputation over the years has preceded him. 8 tackles, 7 clearances, 1 percenters, third in our pressure acts with 22, and most importantly for me, this almost would have got the 5 votes if it wasn't for the obvious 5 voter within our showdown medalist. But the flex at the crowd before he put the ball in for what ended up.
Well, there's still time on the clock.
Just
already
flexing
celebrating.
So there was that, and then obviously the touch of pointing at his teeth, his pearly whites. Looking at the crowd and just really returning serve to Riccelli perfectly. I love that they did that stuff again with the Willie Rioli celebration we talked about earlier too. We timed that stuff perfectly. Just the game was done, and then
wait. You got to wait till the end.
Don't shush a crowd when it's mathematically very possible that they can come back.
Well, and like again, similar to the question of DBJ about whether they intentionally targeted Rankin and him denying it. They also denied talking about the whole Rochelle thing, and it's like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
like you spoke about it. Clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This is funny what they
Yeah.
say.
So, like I said, that would have almost got 5 votes if it wasn't for just Zach Butters, who obviously is my 5 votes, casually breaking the showdown record, which has such esteemed names as such as Rashudo, Burgoyne was our previous record holder, likes of Goodwin and co down the list. But Zach Butters breaking the showdown record for disposals in a showdown with 42. 20 of those contested possessions, 10 clearances, 10 score involvements, a massive 748 meters gained. And most importantly, amongst all that, obviously kicked a nice goal at the end there. I was a little bit worried when he missed that, just kind of undercooked that goal off that free kick.
He had a couple of shots, and it was just like, what?
Yeah, it was really weird, but luckily it didn't end up being mattering. I had it in my notes. I was like, is Butters missing when we could have gone 26 points up, going to be a sliding doors moment? And then Keys kicks that one a couple of minutes later. I was like, oh no. But no, we had control, thankfully. But yeah, most importantly, he was in amongst the fight. He's in there smiling, jumper punching with, and not that we're asking him to jump, but Crows players are engaging, and he's getting right. He's just riding amongst it.
He doesn't back down. It's endearing to our whole supporter base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his as I mentioned at like near the top of the show, he sitting next to Ken in the press conference afterwards. His prison bars, the white parts of his Guernsey were nicely coloured with some grass and dirt stains, which just shows the kind of effort he put into the game. And a worthy showdown medalist and a clear best on ground for my votes.
Yeah, look, well, from 2 to 5, we Yahtzeed. So there we go. In a game where, we both wish we could have put some other people in the votes. We've echoed similar, configurations. So, I alluded to it a little bit earlier in our discussion of the game, but so obviously Butters went straight into the 5. But I actually put Jordan Sweet straight into the 1 vote.
Nice. I like that.
Week.
I like that.
We essentially went through his stats earlier, but just to reel them off again. I mean, 8 disposals, so take that for what you will, but 5 of those were contested. One of them was from a contested mark, which was on my shortlist for a Sweeney as well. 4 tackles, 5 clearances, 5 score involvements, which, is the same as Connor Rosie, 5 score involvements. One of those being a goal assist. But he had 45 hitouts and 10 were to advantage. So if I bring up both, Rob had 41 hitouts, but only 8 of his were to advantage. The stats actually make Riley O'Brien's game look a lot better than I thought it actually was. Like I said, at the ground and then watching the replay, Jordan Sweet absolutely won that contest. There's no doubt in my mind that he won that contest. It is quite obvious and quite powerful was the word I used before. I just thought in conjunction with a midfield that dominated theirs in terms of like on the ground, and even he's doing the stuff on the ground, but the shorter guys who are classed as the midfielders, even though he is a midfielder essentially by position. I loved it. I thought he had a tangible impact on how the whole game was played, and whether it was with his hit outs to advantage or whether it was tackling. Just getting a hand in, which is a lot of the things we like about, Willem Drew. It's nothing that gets you a stat necessarily. It's just the pressure that you were applying, whether that's direct or perceived to the opposition. I just thought, I just thought it was such a great game for him and had such a good impact on our game that he deserved a vote. I didn't think he was in our best 4 players on the ground, but I thought he was in that group who were deserving of at least a 1 vote. And just... I just looked at the hitouts from the first showdown, which was his first showdown. Riley O'Brien had 40 hitouts to his 29. So just purely on hitouts total, that's a huge like
That's
turnaround.
a massive swing
from him. Funnily enough, though,
the context of the fact he got his arm almost ripped off at one point as well. Like it looked like
that's true too. Yeah, so he was under a bit of duress.
Yeah.
He had a few things going on. Funnily enough, though, in the first showdown, he still had 10 to advantage to Riley O'Brien's 9. But I guess again, it doesn't quite tell the story as a whole. I mean, we like to focus on hit outs to advantage. We have done a fair bit this year now. But those stats in the first showdown, I think he got soundly beaten by Riley O'Brien. I don't know if you would agree with that. But
I think the around the ground. I think what he's developed and gotten more confident in is just he. I think he feels like he belongs in the number one ruck spot, which I put out. I put it out on Twitter. I think the Bring Back Lavars account put out a tweet about
the kid from Modbury,
the kid from Modbury, which is
my current postcode as well.
Yeah. So if he wants to send some hate mail, just send it to Modbury and they'll figure it out and get it jammed.
They'll find me. But like I said, the stats probably flatter Riley O'Brien from Saturday night. Just gone.
The eye test.
I thought he was fairly ineffectual, to be honest.
I found the stats.
It does say he got 8 to advantage.
Yeah, when I read the stats afterwards, I was like, the eye test for me was a lot further of a gap, which I think is what you're speaking to as well. Is just it didn't feel like Riley O'Brien had that, and I think that's just the thing is like you notice Sweet around the game, even if it isn't. I think he just let me scroll down for a second here. He had 13 pressure acts. He was in the top 10 or 12 of pressure acts as well. So that's what he brings to the game as well, and in and around. Pure disposal numbers or hit outs and stuff. There's just the fact he is so quite athletic and the fact he's 26. He's spent so much time and tool players take a long time to develop. But sometimes when they hit that mid-20s, they can just suddenly hit the ground running. I often talk about one I love talking about is Aaron Judge in baseball. He's like one of the best. He's on pace to be the MVP for the Yankees this year. He's a player that didn't break into Major League Baseball until he was 25 years old. Spent 5 years in the minor leagues.
Right.
Sometimes
paying your dues.
big power players and Jordan Sweet as a ruckman. It's very different sports, but some players just their development isn't linear. And just because he came in as a 25-year-old and now 26 with only 11 games under his belt didn't mean he wasn't capable. And now we're seeing he's actually, I genuinely believe the number one spot now is his because he's shown.
There's no doubt for me.
Yeah, ability against different ruckmen, different situations. He's shown an ability to be able to fight. Yeah, whether he wins the battle, like Max Gawn, he just had to fight and find the wins within the game, but he still did enough.
You could argue that him leveling the contest in the last quarter is what helped us win the game too.
Yeah.
So there was obviously a lot of contributors in that game, which we obviously went through last week. But if that game against Max Gawn is going to be one of your worst, I'll still take that.
Exactly.
For a guy that hasn't even played 50 games yet, albeit he is in his mid-20s. So, just really I was like, he's getting a vote. There's no question about it. He's not moving. So Rosie too. You touched on his captaincy before and how we've never really had a doubt with it and have enjoyed him kind of building into the role this year. He if we compare now to even the beginning of the year, he's definitely grown in his leadership and how he carries himself, carries the team. But I think for anyone who can be bothered, because it's all said and done now, but his press conference before Saturday, the weekend, I think it was Thursday maybe, he had a captain's press conference, and it's just such a well-spoken individual, and some of the things that he was saying just kind of made me really confident about the game on Saturday, just the way that he was talking and the way he was explaining what the team focus was and just some of those aspects of that. I was like, we're winning on Saturday, because if that's the guy who's leading us, then I was really impressed. And he's not even 25 right now.
And a good thing for him to note on him that I didn't think of before, but it's just you talking about that. A good return for him, because the other showdown was obviously highlighted by the fact he came back underdone. So for him
there's a few moments like that.
Stories of retribution.
Yeah. Because I think Jace Burgoyne also he was coming off of a hot streak where he kind of announced himself.
Mm.
We played St Kilda. He had a best on ground performance against St Kilda in Anzac round. But then I think he lowered his colours a little bit in the first showdown this year. And then, this game he was pretty rude not to get a vote. So, a few stories like that. Yeah, that's a great point about Rosie, though, with his hamstring.
Yeah.
JHF at 3, like, after watching that game and then, the last month in particular he's had, I'm convinced that he is probably going to win us one final at least in the next month. He just, it's impact. Like you said, he had 5 less disposals than Rosie, but it's just, what happens when he's around the ball sometimes, and they put a bit of work into him. He got caught 1 or 2 times, but everyone's just going, keep going. Like, love that. You just got tackled well, essentially. But apart from that, it's just ridiculous how much footy now such a young person has, and how much impact one guy can have on a contest, whether isolated contest or just the contest as a whole. I'm convinced that, if we go deep into finals, he would have at least won us one of them with his contributions. And I hope that comes to fruition, obviously.
Absolutely, yeah.
For Ollie Wines, kind of sneaky good. Like, I don't know, just like watching it a couple of times, I'm like, I obviously notice him, and I'm watching it more than one time, which is helpful. But he just gets to business. He just clocks in, does his job. Like you said, 73%. Some of his disposal efficiency as of late is, bucking the trend of, or perception of, his career. Just the midfield as a whole. Like, all of my votes are midfielders, and essentially, all of yours. Ollie Wines, loving, again, a bit similar to Travis Boak, just coming into some great form at the right time of the year. And like, you just absolutely trust every single one of these people right now. And then, 5 votes goes to Zach Butters. How can you argue with that? Just, he is absolutely loving the fact no one's tagging him at the moment.
Yeah.
But again, a bit similar to Jack, just stupid, some of the things that he can do, handballs that he gets away wrong, like, off balance or in a weird position, and he just kind of maneuvers his body in the right way, attacks the contest hard.
Quick hands as
generally
well.
Pretty good with his disposal, just inventive, like, just has all the qualities that you yearn for in a footballer. He is one person that can actually back up anything that he says too. And I like you were saying before, just Crows players are trying to chirp at him, and he's just like, just laughing.
He loves that shit.
Good try.
Yeah.
He's just he's the father of. He was the father of Adelaide Crows on Saturday night.
Yeah. Call me daddy. No, he's an incredible player, and it's been a bit I think it's been a bit hit and miss this year, partly because of tags, and partly just because we've got so many guys that demand touches, but we're figuring out the mix so well now.
Absolutely. The coaches have
the fact that we've
this team quite well.
Yeah, the fact that our top 4 are Zach Butters, Ollie Wines, Jason Horne-Francis, Connor Rosie, and then beyond that, Travis Boak had a low disposal game, but influential, and Willem Drew.
Well, Willem Drew had 34 pressure acts.
11 tackles.
11 of those were tackles. Like, for fuck's sake. Like, talk about playing your role. Again, unfortunate to be out of the votes. But
like, he had 5 clearances for him, and then we had, that was like 5th best or equal. Yeah, it will equal with Jordan Sweet to be 5th best on the team. But 5. It's just,
and yet a lot of the detractors of where we may fare for the rest of the season, or how we fare, are really putting a lot of focus in, like, our defense and our forward line about maybe not being 100% where we'd want it to be. I'd kind of disagree with that profusely, but
injuries aside,
a lot of our midfield is being like lauded in some respects, but when they go, oh well, who can who can go deep? Just this midfield isn't totally being underrated as a whole.
Mhm.
Like we've said, we've got 6 guys who can adequately play in the center, plus the wingers that are clearly providing more than enough in their role. Like, yeah, it seems to be, and like even the lauding of our big three, as they like to call it, it does just feel like a bit of lip service in a way where it's kind of like, yeah, they're fantastic, but kind of like shiny new toy-ish a little bit is kind of where I'm getting at. Like
Yeah.
it's respect, but it's like, yeah, we still don't expect you to do much. And like, yeah, Jared and David King, again, however much weight you want to fucking put into their seedings, yeah, with second on the ladder, had a fantastic last 2 months and nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, like I said off the top, kind of okay with it though. In the same breath, as frustrating it is sometimes, you want a bit of recognition for your own club's performances, but cool. We'll just keep going about our business, and it seems like we are just doing that. We're going about our business.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good kind of segue to move on to the last bit of business we have to do for the minor round. Been quite a marathon this season as well, but round 24 is upon us. The first time we've been able to say that. The last minor round game of the season, and we are literally the last minor round game of the season, as it is with the way the AFL set up the round 24 with the Super Sunday, as I think they're calling it. It's Wharf versus Wharf for the Pirate Life Cup.
Yeah.
And a shout out, by the way, Ollie Wines 250th this weekend as well, which
absolutely
seems to have come up quick. But 5:40 p.m. Alberton time on Sunday afternoon over there in Perth. There is a chance that we get to this game. And look, either way, it's going to be a tough battle, I think, regardless of the permutations of what's happened before. There is a chance when it comes to our game, due to Fremantle having lost 3 games in a row, I think about since this fixture was announced, that Fremantle could be out.
Yeah. Isn't that
Fremantle could be out of finals contention by the time this game kicks off. I don't think that's going to change too much fundamentally how Fremantle are going to play. They're probably going to come out and they're going to play for pride, or they're going to be playing for a final spot. And I think and there is plenty of permutations that they are still, like Western Bulldog. It needs Western Bulldogs to beat GWS, Hawthorn to beat North Melbourne, which is probably going to happen, and then Carlton to beat St Kilda, which St Kilda
may not happen.
Yeah, which may not happen. So I think there's a very good chance Fremantle will still be in contention when we play them. And we're obviously playing to solidify a home qualifying final, basically, being that we're in second position now. We are locked into top 4, which is fantastic. I didn't expect that to be the case coming into the game. I thought, 5 weeks ago, we're talking about this game possibly fighting for a final 8 spot, and now we're just
That's
fighting.
Exactly right, yes.
Worst case scenario is we're playing a away qualifying final now. So that is a really good thing.
I mean, I'm like, data modeling had us finishing on like maybe 13 wins, and maybe playing Brisbane away in an elimination final. So much has unfolded in the last 8 weeks.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah. It's quite incredible. And the fact that the worst case scenario is we're going to be playing away qualifying final, which whatever it'll be tough. A home qualifying final is going to be tough as well. It's finals, it's all tough scenarios. But if we win this weekend, we lock up a home qualifying final, unless I think Geelong beat West Coast by fucking 120 points or whatever, and we lose. Then that's really the only scenario. And then GWS win. We'll see what happens. But intriguing setup. The weather in Perth. Friday 2 to 10 mil, Saturday 8 to 30 mil, Sunday 0 to 6 mil. So it could be very wet in the lead up to it. Possibly
but nice by the time we start playing.
Yeah, but it's still a chance of some showers. I think it could be similar to what we experienced in Adelaide last weekend, like rain leading up to it, a little bit of showers during the day, but a wet track from the preceding days. Fremantle has some injury concerns as well. Alex Pearce, I think, is not meant to be back until finals if they make it.
That's right, 2 weeks away on their injury list.
Yeah. The big one that got announced just a few hours ago, Josh Tracy's out as well.
So if we can just pause there and
yes.
You commented on the moment during our recording here where my eyes went quite large and you wanted to know why. Yeah, that's because that's when I realized that Josh Tracy wasn't playing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Then I'd forgotten about that, but I remember seeing you just on like as I was talking, and like the viewers aren't going to see this because I was talking, so the camera was on me. But yeah, Jamie's eyes just went like fucking cartoon wide, just like he'd seen something,
didn't they? Yeah.
But yeah, that was the Josh Tracy news, which he's kicked 45 goals for them this year. He's been
he's been great for them this year. I remember underappreciating his game against us earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Putting it down to a bit of fortune. But he's backed it up continually since then, which has been really impressive.
A big part of their middle of the season run. I mean, they were good from the start, but their run they put together to put themselves into flag mantle position as they were for a few weeks.
Sydney away, like when Sydney were kind of hot property as well.
That was the win that broke Sydney's streak. Yeah. So a big miss for them. I think Sean Darcy's is he a test for this week?
He's a test.
Yeah. So we'll see because they debuted. I'm trying to think of his what was the player's name? Was it Liam Reedy or is that the name?
That sounds
That's it. They debuted a ruck last week so rather than just going with Luke Jackson, they actually debuted another ruck to take lead ruck spot and still play with Luke Jackson as well. But it is interesting how they're so. Liam Reedy, But yeah, it is interesting how they do play, like even with, because earlier in the year it was like, do you play both? And then now it's like, if Darcy goes out.
Interesting situation. I mean, we've all watched that 2021 grand final and Luke Jackson had
he's under
obvious impact in the ruck in that third quarter.
He's too good to drop, but then it's just like how he fits in as a lead ruck and versus
with Tracy being out, he's probably going to have to play as a forward again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they've got some injury concerns, and obviously Alex Pearce is a big miss for them down back. But there's still a very obviously midfield. Caleb Sarong's up there in the Brownlow favoritism, and yet a midfield group that's very, very good. Obviously, I mean, these days it's Caleb Sarong and Andrew Bayshaw, but still got guys like Nat Fyfe running around, a dual Brownlow winner.
Hayden Young's had a great year
he has, he's come on really strong this second half of the year, I feel like, as well. I think he's really up there in their goal assist and just their kind of inside 50 work. And I'm confident. I'm a lot more confident now than I was probably 5-6 weeks ago, which is clearly, you get the boost from how well you're playing. The fact that we do have something to play for in this game, and there is a little bit of freedom in the fact that we are in a position that, regardless of what happens in this game, we are going to be playing. We've got the double chance. What I guess on our side of it, we've only got a few more minutes to go here because we've got the time constraint, so we won't do too much on this. But I'm intrigued as to what you think we should do on the Mitch Georgiades front because I'm a little bit 50-50. I'd like to get some time into him, but I'm also of the opinion that he was in such good form before he went out with injury. It hasn't been a long-term injury, so he hasn't spent too much time out. And we've got to buy after anyway. So if he came back in, then he'd be out there'd be 2-week break anyway. Do you just take the chance to rest and make sure he's just fit and firing, ready to go for finals? Rather than
playing him.
Okay.
If he's fit.
Yeah, that is the thing. I want him. Yeah. I don't want him.
If he's still touch and go or there's any doubts over his fitness, I'm not playing him.
Yeah,
I guess if he's fit.
Yeah. I think my thing, I guess to extrapolate on it, I want him to be 110%. I don't want him to just be 100%. I want him to he's so good. He is fucking sprinting into the coach's office and writing his name on the board and just sprinting back out just in full flight, and just he's in just such good touch that it's undeniable we have to play him because his head's gonna explode otherwise. That's how good I don't want him to just be.
You run the risk of flirting with form, resting him. Finals come around and it's been like a month since he played, and you could also argue that if you're playing him, you're risking an injury, but you're also risking an injury for 22 other players on the day too. So And again, it'll be interesting to see what is up for grabs for either team when we kick
Yeah.
off. But yeah, if he's fit, I'm playing him. Just get another run,
Mm-hmm.
get back into match mode in your head. Obviously, then we got there's a bye and whatnot. But yeah, I'm still playing him. I'm still playing him. He's part of the best 22. Yeah.
And we are still, regardless of what Frio's scenario is, we still need to win the game to lock up that top 2 spot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, again, watching the game earlier in the day, if Bulldogs do the job, then we don't really need to win. No, you said Geelong.
I think so. Geelong, if Bulldogs do.
No. Yeah, sorry. Unless, Geelong win by an exponential amount and we lose by an exponential amount.
Yeah.
We might not even need to win necessarily if GWS lose to the Bulldogs in Ballarat.
That is very true.
A little bit of a percentage question, but making up 7%.
I think
Geelong is a big ask.
What it's basically going to require is we'd have to, I think the medium's around. Geelong would have to win by 10 goals, we lose by 10 goals, or if it's a close game for us and we lose, Geelong's got to. Essentially, I did the math in my head. I was just like, it's more or less the same as what we did against Sydney. We gained 7 percentage points by beating Sydney by 18 goals. So Geelong's got to, and to be fair, Geelong's playing West Coast, I think, at GMHBA. So it's every chance. It's every chance.
They're going to be going hard against West Coast. In Geelong. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, even though their form there hasn't been that great this year, you can just picture a absolute demolition. So, come Sunday night, it'd be very, very interesting. I would imagine that we'd still want to go hard to finish the minor round off well.
Yeah, you just don't want to. You don't want to flirt with form. We did that last year
That's exactly right
against Carlton, didn't we? In that game, which I don't buy into too much of that, but there was an element of the fact we did probably overcook it on the resting front, and it toyed with our form for a few weeks. So
overcooked it in every regard, and again, like it's good performances, and the reason why we won 7 of our last 8 is all comes down to good habits, continual good habits, and play this game the same way you have done for the better part of 2 months. Keep those good habits flowing so that when we come into our qualifying final,
and we do have
they're still there.
We do have the benefit of there is a weekend off in between, so you can, as long as obviously injuries of more serious nature, but if you go in there and just get a bit battered and bruised by making sure you lock up that top 2 spot, then you do have depending on if we play there's every chance we play Thursday night qualifying, but we're going to have a 11-day break. It's an 11-day break at least, regardless of whatever happens on that front. So you can go in there, play a good tough game of footy, and come out and know that you've got a good 10, 11 days of break before you're into the cauldron of finals footy again. So all to play for. We're in ripping form. We're one of only 2 teams, along with GWS just below us, who are on a 5-game streak of wins. So, you don't want to toy with form too much. You want to make sure you get your lineup settled. But I just so love what Mitch Georgiades has brought. I really just want to make sure that we're not testing him. But I think the fact that he was a test last week, I think speaks to what you're saying, is that he was probably borderline for last week. And is possibly going to be available this week. But it'll be interesting to see what the coaching staff think to do as well. If there is any lingering doubts, I would expect them to be cautious. But I think we can go over there and do it without him. But it would certainly be good to be getting our best 22 on the field this week as a look forward to the finals.
And obviously we will need to be replacing Dan Houston. Unless the tribunal shits the bed and absolves him from all responsibility, which is probably more
pissing into the wind. That
more unlikely than hell freezing over.
I guess just quickly, what would your I had that in my notes, but I'd gotten so sidetracked by Georgiades. What's your thoughts on how to move those magnets?
I think it's a really great opportunity for Ryan Burton, who I didn't have coming back into the side for the rest of the year. it's a moment in time where he, as a senior figure around the club, can re-inject his influence into our team. The criticisms that we had on him earlier in the season were that he wasn't quite as accountable as we wanted him to be. Now, I believe that if he's replacing a Dan Houston, or say you want to move Kane Farrell into the Dan Houston role, they both play basically the same role. It's a less accountable defensive role anyway. And like the bullshit that Kingy fucking went on first crack in the 2 seconds that the showdown got, apart from the Dan Houston incident, saying that, Dan Houston's the fourth Beatle and it's going to affect our chances to win the Premiership. I don't buy into that, because at the end of the day, the half back line is something that we're kind of blessed with riches a little bit. If it's not Burton, we've got Josh Sinn, we've got Will Lorenz, who's playing, albeit I think more of a wing role in the SANFL. But we've got guys to go there. I trust our whole fucking system to cover a loss of one player, albeit it's a very important piece of our puzzle. But I think you put in Ryan Burton in there for this weekend and going, show me that you deserve to play the finals as a guy that we wanted to be traded in the Chad Wingard trade to take us forward. A guy who's in his later 20s.
Yeah, I think he might even. He's
a guy
still. Go.
He's
Keep going.
27, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's absolutely a position I think we can cover for. And it gives, for him replacing Dan Houston, it gives him a little bit more room to be a bit more attacking, which he's obviously more comfortable doing. And you just hope that if he needs to put his head in the hole, he does that. So that's probably what I would be doing and what I think the coaches will do. Because as much as we rate the potential of a Josh Sinn or of Will Lorenz for that matter, we've got a final series to consider, and we can't be selecting project players, like players who might just jump up in form exponentially between now and the qualifying final. Not to say that Ryan Burton has been in fantastic form, but again, he's a senior leader, albeit not in an official leadership role. He's a senior person around the club, and he needs to be part of a finals team that goes deep. If we don't have a Dan Houston there, we need him in good form, and that's what I want to see. Because apart from that, you put Mitch Georgiadis on the field at the start of Saturday night's game against the Crows and leave Burton out in a perfect world, and that's my best 23. Someone we haven't touched on and quickly get in here, but they're obviously playing Narkle as a super sub. They're obviously comfortable with it. He's obviously comfortable with it because he's done it for 4 weeks in a row now.
It feels like 6-7 weeks now, I think. Actually.
Yeah. He's getting involved, which is something that we've brought up a few times now. They're obviously training it into him. So in that regard, the 23. If you exchange Burton for Georgiadis in the showdown, that's the team that I want playing in the finals. Now we don't have Dan Houston, so Georgiadis comes in and Burton stays back where he finished the showdown on Saturday. For me, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm of that notion as well. I've spoken many times about how much I love Brian Burton in the past and how I think he's got the skill levels to beat. It's just he hasn't got it to come together. Not getting into the hyperbole of some of the worst parts of Port Twitter. And then some of those criticisms over the last 12, 18 months have been warranted, that his effort sometimes is just lacking in some crucial moments. But overall, I think his ball use and stuff is still, and as you said, if he can plug into that role, that's, somewhat, and the rest of the defensive structure is better, that might help him, and he might find some confidence and form in that. And so, I think you have to give him the chance. The rawness of Lorenz and Sinn is probably going to be more noticeable than effort questions, which hopefully, being that it's finals, that maybe Burton can make up for that. And, his timeout has hopefully helped some of those attitude But I don't think it's a bad attitude thing. It's just, application more so. So, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
he had a foot injury that lasted much longer than I
Yes.
think anyone would have hoped for.
And something that wasn't quite known. I think there was a time where he had the injury and people didn't really notice and know and were questioning his effort. And then it came out he had the injury. And I was like, oh, okay, that's some context that maybe we would have helped a little bit. But yeah. Massive game. Not quite as big as I was expecting it to be a few weeks ago, but still really, really important to how we see going into finals. A massive podcast this has been. A lot to touch on. But I think we've gotten through it quite well. There's a lot of talking points, both good and bad, but we've gotten through it. Thank you as always, Jamie. It was a really intense episode,
Same to you.
but we made it through. And just one more week of minor round footy before we get into the big dance, which we are officially locked into and a part of, so we can start talking about it now properly. But yeah, a big weekend. We can't look too much further ahead until we've gotten through the Freo Dockers over in the West. So yeah, look forward to it. Nothing more to say, but as always, calm the fucking pair.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for your support. Go Power.